Hello, how are you doing? I am on StreamYard for the first time. I hope that you can see and hear me. It looks like the graphic is in the banner is in the front, so I'm going to try and remove it. I'm still getting used of the StreamYard, and that's showing that. Still don't know why there's a screen over me. Hopefully everyone's joining me. Hi, everybody. Share screen. No. Okay. Toby is munching away on the back there on one screen. If anyone could let me know in the chat, can you see me? Hi. Hello. If you want to, come on, I am here. Behind the screen. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Can you still see the screen? Because I'm seeing this Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast in front of me, and I obviously don't want that. I'm going to try and shift things around a bit. Let's tip. Okay, how's this one? I went on live earlier and now I'm here. Okay, so I am going to send a message. Here's Abby, and hopefully she's going to fix it for me because I don't know what to do with the screen thing. Here we are.
I'm going to come in now. I'm going to be in the background.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our stream, and I have loads of amazing guests today. We are launching my podcast today, so we are, and yay, I'm back. Amazing. That was so fun. As I said, I'm new to this and I'm getting used to it. I'm going to put my little static banner because we have a competition running for today, and I'm going to have lots of incredible guests joining us as well. So if you are here live, you're hidden. Hopefully you can see me again. I hope that you can see me again, and I'm back. Ta-da! So that was such a funny get started. Ken literally walked out the door at 2 minutes to 3, and Toby gets a wee bit of anxiety, and he literally went berserk. You can see me, yay! He went completely berserk, so I had to run and get him a treat, and now he's like munching on his treat in the background. So he's going to be the sound effects in the background is Toby having a bit of a chew, so it is. You're going to see here what we're doing today. First of all, I would love to do a little meditation to get us started. This is the official launch of our Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast. And yes, thank you for the hearts. And one of the things that's really super, and I know I just learned this actually from one of our guests, Lisa Johnson, who's going to be joining in a little bit. She is going to be joining us a little bit, and one of the things that she taught is that she shared is that basically if you even give likes, like hearts and angry faces, apparently it improves being visible and being seen. I'm going to have to go over and close the door because literally he's going to be going like that, scratching for ages. So I can you can come see my office. This is my unicorn in the background. I'll bring the camera with me. This is fun. I've never gone on the go around my office to close the door. And that's the door. And that lad hopefully won't be as noisy because he may come scratching a little bit, but that's okay. So we have my unicorn pictures in the back. This is my Feng Shui office. So it is. And I'm going to be doing a whole episode of Feng Shui in your office as well. So let me go back. I have the little, this is so fun. And I can see people's names, Maggie, Rita, Yvonne, Annika. Hello, hello, hello. So great to have you here. But I thought we'd start with just doing a meditation. We've got the amazing Romy coming on in about 10 minutes. And then we've got a whole sequence of amazing guests coming on every 15 minutes to discuss some of their expertise, to talk about Feng Shui and how it integrates with their expertise. Some of them have already been guests on my Live Your Dreams Awake podcast, and some of them are going to be guests in the future as well. So first of all, just to get ourselves in the mode and really just to open our hearts, open ourselves to the wisdom of everything that's unfolding here. Roll your shoulders back, open your heart, and just you can gently close your eyes if you're not driving. I'll keep my eyes open because if anyone joins, they'll be like, why is she got her eyes closed? But it'll be an open meditation for me. So taking a few nice deep breaths in and out, and just breathing into your tummy, opening up your heart, and just letting out a little sigh. And another nice deep inhale in, and then exhaling out. Any thoughts that you hear, just acknowledging them, but just coming into your heart. And I want you to bring your hand to your heart. I've got my sweater that says love on me today. And just want to bring your hand to your heart, bring your awareness to the beating of your heart. And as you have that awareness of that heart beating and continuously pulsing, just really drop into that awareness of how it is doing it without you having to tell it what to do. And just really dropping into the awesomeness and the amazingness and the miracle of being here right now on this journey with this life that we have. So your hand on your heart and feeling that heart just beating and how it has really an energy to it. You know, the heart is pumping and beating, and that is really, in essence, tuning into the energy of the chi. That energy flow, this source, this energy that keeps moving through us, not just our heart pumping and moving the blood around our bodies and doing so much, keeping us alive. Just smiling down at your heart. This is a beautiful 5 elements practice. So breathing into your heart and smiling at your heart. Smiling at your heart. And we're going to smile at each of the five of the main organs. So breathing in, smiling at your heart. Giving thanks to our heart for all that it does. With your hand on your heart, you can also smile at your lungs and smiling at your lungs. And as you breathe into your lungs, you want to breathe in white light or silver into the lungs. That's the metal element. And then thanking your lungs, thank you, smiling at your lungs, just waiting for your lungs to smile back at you. And then moving down to the liver. Bring your hand down to your liver. You can leave your hand on your heart if you want, but you can just bring your awareness down to your liver, below your chest. It's kind of there at the ribs. And we're going to breathe into the liver. And we're going to breathe in green light into the liver, which is wood elements. So breathing that into the liver. Smiling down at our livers. We're doing a little bit of feng shui on ourselves. Smiling down at your liver, thanking it for all it does and waiting for it to smile back at you. And then bringing your awareness down to the other side, to your spleen and pancreas. We're going to smile there at our spleen and pancreas. We're going to smile in earth color. This earth element is associated with earth element, feng shuiing ourselves. Breathing in there, thanking, smiling at our spleen and pancreas. And then bringing your awareness to behind your back. You can kind of put your hands on your back. It's the kidneys. We're going to breathe into our kidneys. The kidneys are water element, so breathing in blue and smiling down our kidneys. And just as we smile down at each of these organs, just giving thanks for them. And giving thanks for the prana and the chi that moves through our bodies. And we are literally walking feng shui. We can feng shui ourselves. So breathing, smiling at our kidneys, and then just bringing our hands back to our heart and breathing in red light into our heart, fire element. Thank you. And just thanking our body, thanking ourselves for being here, thanking ourselves for thanking technology. I just can't believe that I'm on all different platforms simultaneously at the one time. I'm grateful for having you here. So just so you know, today the Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast was released, and along with it is a big competition. So we've got some amazing prizes. You see all the prizes going. There's an iPad, Amazon vouchers, there's a place on my Happy Home course, there's a place on my Feng Shui for Your Business course. And all you have to do is actually go to this page here, powerhouse.fengshui.com/podcast competition, and you will get a step-by-step guide. So all you have to do is basically go find the podcast and review it, and then screenshot the review and email it to miracles@patricialohan.com. And the reason we're asking for the screenshots is that the review doesn't come up. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed that. And that's a little bit of a Feng Shui wisdom. Maybe I'll actually do a full sequence of that meditation for the podcast, because I'm always just getting ideas, and I would love to hear from you what you would like to hear on the podcast. Some of the things that are going to be coming up, obviously the first 3 episodes were released today. We had the intro trailer, kind of a little bit of like why we're doing it, what you're going to learn, but we had what is Feng Shui, why should we Feng Shui, and how to know if your house is good or bad Feng Shui. They were the first 3 released today. And obviously loads of people have lots of questions. So I will be putting that out into our community to share and to witness and to tell me more. We also had our amazing private little WhatsApp group. So everyone has been just absolutely doing amazing with that, and we've got lots of people who've been sharing their reviews, and I really appreciate that. And they're kind of getting a double little entry. Spotify ran them together with your previous podcast. Oh, okay. Well, yes, actually, that's so true. And what we've actually done, we were thinking we were going to actually create a brand new one, but what we're doing is we're keeping the old episodes, because of the old show, so Live Your Dreams Awake, it's just being renamed, rebranded, and ultimately, I just want to get the little unicorn in fully, because I just love that unicorn picture. So Maggie, I'm so excited as well for the new episodes. Thank you. And also, so they did run in tandem, but the reason that they ran in tandem was basically we kept them because they were really great episodes. Like, there's nothing actually wrong with them, except that we are really just focusing and honing in on Feng Shui. And that was something that unfolded as a result of amazing conversation with Anna, who's going to be coming on at 5 today, chatting to me about basically talking about the launching of the podcast. And every single person who leaves a review, basically what you're doing is we are kind of trying to really work with the algorithms, and these technologies really support engagement. So they really Apple wants to give kudos and give a higher rating to podcasts that it respects and loves. So some of the things that we had to do for this podcast to improve it were better audio. So I've already seen Nuthan telling me that she didn't think the old one was bad, but now she loves the quality of this one. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll have to go to the studio for all of them. So I did do those in studio. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed them all. I got my daughter to review them on Apple. So if you do want me to know your name, there's a link at the top that you can click on that just gives Facebook permission or StreamYard permission to post your photo, or your name. So like Maggie's picture, and then Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Hello. Great to see you here. Rita is on YouTube, which is so fun. And I actually think that Annika's on Facebook. And if you want to, I don't have to pop your faces up, but thank you for your comments. But as we go through the journey today, I'm just going to be sharing more about it. Oh, that was you commenting on the audio. I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So I didn't realize that the audio was bad, but it is really great that now it's better. And so that was one of the things. They like it better audio. They also, I think even just the times of the episodes, what was so fascinating for me was I did have the 10 titles ready to go. And I wasn't sure how many other episodes I was going to be how many I'd be able to record. But we went in, I had 3 hours assigned, and I'm not kidding you, 3 hours flew by, but all of the episodes ended up about 16 or 17 minutes, which was like kind of fun because I had no idea that was it. Just listen to all the new episodes. Loved them all. I know. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I don't know who that is, but wow, this streaming app is cool. I And actually it has been around for a really long time. And sometimes I get nervous about new things, like just being like, oh, it just feels like it's going to be really hard. And now I'm here and I'm like, why have I not been doing this for ages? And what's super fun is that other people are going to be able to join me really easily as well, which makes it really fun. So as I said, we're going to have different guests today, but if you are up for joining us today and entering the prize, there's Nathan. She was saying, that was me saying, I listened to them all. I just tried the link again. I hope you can see my, oh, yes, I can. So that's so fun. Oh, it's lovely to see your face. So when you create, so then you could see who's posting and I can know. Maggie, you're a natural on here. Thank you. I actually really like this. I'm like, this is cool. And I had no plans. I didn't even think about, I didn't do this branding. So, Abby, my team member, had set this all up with all the pink and everything. And I just got up this morning and was like, I'm going to get dressed. I want to wear comfortable. I've got my sparkly runners on, which are super fun. And my sparkly pink runners. And I put the pink jacket on. And then I came on and I was like, wow, it all matches. So that's super fun. So we are going to, we're going to have Romy joining us soon. And then from then on, a guest joining for the rest of the day. As I said, the competition is here, and basically it's to support us getting as many more people seeing it and sharing the message. So we've got all of these prizes, and then all you have to do is go to the link and review them and share them. Let me see. So the first thing that I wanted to share was the podcast studio that I actually did the podcast in. So it was really uncanny. I had gone into that studio a couple of months ago when a lovely lady, Mairead, she's from Love HQ. She's a matchmaker here in Ireland. She had me on her show. And I came in to do her show and she recorded me in a studio. I was like, wow, I haven't done this before. This in-person stuff, like, wow, everything is virtual in our business. So meeting someone in real life for a podcast episode was so fun. So we were on Dawson Street, actually just around the corner from where it was kind of synchronistic because I was on Dawson Street recording that episode and recording this studio. And guess what? That is where I used to teach my yoga classes. That is where I used to teach the yoga classes and cycle. And it was like my first job in Dublin. And it just feels so perfect to be, it was like a full circle moment. I'm now recording my podcast on the same street. But I will bring on Dr. Romy. This is so fun. Oh my God, I could totally get used to this. This is why I was watching a television presenter.
You feel like it, and I'm sorry, it's like so early in Florida. I'm like still in my workout clothes. I just walked the dog and I'm like all in sloppy mode, but I'm like, I need to come and celebrate. It's Monday morning and you have a new podcast. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. Romy also has a beautiful Bichon Frise, so I totally get it. I'm walking the dog as a priority.
It is the senior version of Toby. He's right back here snoring. So if you hear some noises, that's what happens when they get to 15.
Oh my God. Well, Toby ran up and jumped on our bed and was asleep on our bed this morning. I was like, what is he doing? Ken's like, oh, just leave him there. I was like, Ken's way too soft with him.
He's snuggling with you. He knows it's a big day to celebrate. He's like, I want Mama.
Oh, he's so cute. Thank you. Helen just said I'm a bored presenter. Well, actually, Romy here is an amazing public speaker. This is actually what she does, but you also have an amazing business. And Romy was actually on the Live Your Dreams Away podcast, so you can go back and listen to it. So maybe, Romy, you want to tell everyone like who you are and what you do, because people can go back and check out that amazing episode that we did together.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. Patricia, first I'll say is her and I met in an entrepreneurial mastermind in 2020. I was so frightened when I walked in the room because I was like, I think I'm the only medical doctor and the person doing a B2B business in this room. And I was at that point the only woman of color that walked in the room. And I was just really frightened. I didn't know a soul. And thank goodness I sat down next to Patricia. She has this welcoming, healing energy that is as true as what you see on camera or you hear on her podcast in person. So to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Romy Mushtalk, as everyone knows me, their homie, Dr. Romy. I am the founder of Brain Shift, whole person wellness for your brain, body, and team. And I speak and consult for a living, taking a whole wellness program specifically towards brain and mental health into corporate America. So that is what I do. I get hired to speak, I consult, I serve as a chief wellness officer for a very big company here in the US. And Feng Shui is so important. My background is neurology. I'm a brain doctor and integrative medicine, which is talking about the health of the whole person, bringing Eastern and Western medicine together, which is so important. And one of the modules we had was traditional Chinese medicine. And, as anybody in Patricia's community knows, but I'm going to share this in people that don't know about Feng Shui, it's you have to heal your brain and your body and your space, whether that's your home or your office. And so I think that's why I'm just so excited, Patricia, to have you in my life for Feng Shui and to share your expertise in my community.
Yes, I'm so grateful. This is so amazing. And Romy, I would love you to share, because Romy has been part of Powerhouse as well. So this is super fun. Is there anything you'd like to share just about that journey? Because I know you had like some revelations.
I did.
And hopefully people will have that through the podcast.
I think people are going to, don't be scared when you hear this. I think intuitively, the house I was in, I knew I needed to leave. It was an old house and it wasn't serving me. And I was one of those people that I knew I needed to do Powerhouse and I just couldn't get started. I paid for the program, but I was so busy with the rebuilding and scaling a business, I just kept putting it aside until the house was like, you're no longer welcome here. And I had to start purging. And I think in that space, while I was, the house had to undergo major construction and I had to move a lot of my things out and declutter, as Patricia talked about, just doing your initial meditations, I think gave me that intuitive permission to say, I need to leave my home. And here I was like scaling and things felt frantic. And I think after decluttering and going through that process, I think the thing that was most helpful for me is I do best with one-to-one attention and was getting a personalized report for the old home I was in and the new home I moved into. And right away, I felt I was sleeping better in this new place because I furnished everything and redecorated everything with your Feng Shui report in mind, not Romy random colors, and so right away I was sleeping better. And ever since I did the reports in both homes, it's business just continues to scale month after month, and we're hitting our metrics and getting the clients we want. And I had one of those business models, like probably a lot of entrepreneurs in your community, Patricia, had to completely rebuild in 2020, and I couldn't be happier. And I know it's a combination of my hard work, and entrepreneurial resilience. But the missing piece was what I was doing in my space, both my office space and my home. And
I love it.
My next, can I say this out loud with you?
Go ahead.
Thing that I am manifesting in this space, other than my office, we built that I am divorced and that I'm welcoming love into my life. And so I remember
manifesting
my man. And that's it. And so I was like specifically telling your team, what do I need to do? What do I need to put in my love?
And now we need to put loads of love hearts for Romy, for love. We're like, yay, bring it on. Actually, what's so fun and what I think is so interesting is that you automatically got better sleep, because that's something that you teach, like help people to get better sleep. And I was like, oh my God, Romy got better sleep.
Well, and so, my busy brain is what I've been researching in the brain shift protocol. And, we will have Patricia in our new tech platform in this, because we do a sleep challenge with our corporate teams. And I learned something in Feng Shui from you that translates into sleep psychology literature. And people report incredible results. It was this idea of, you say it more eloquently than me, but not having laundry in the room and clearing underneath your bed. And people report feeling better. And, this is ancient wisdom that you teach under your framework. And I think in the last 100 years, psychology and psychiatry is catching up to the benefits of decluttering your space for sleep and work.
Yeah, totally. And I just have to tell a funny one on this one, because the other day I came down to Ken. I was like, do you know that you always put your dirty laundry in our relationship area? And he was just like, oh. I'm like, you all, and he was like, no, it was going to be a laundry basket. I said, I took the laundry basket away from because I didn't. And he still just puts the stuff there. I was like, I'm just pointing that out for you. He's like, okay, I will change that now. So, it's just like, and that it's not in our bedroom, but I was just like laughing because it's in our walk-in wardrobe. And I'm like, that's actually our relationship area where he puts that every day. I'm like, and then I pick it up and move it out because I'm like, oh, no, I don't want this. I don't want any dirty laundry in our relationship.
Well, here, the other thing of my bedroom now, everything, including the closet, has room for my man. And it's like everything is set up that it looks for two. When family came to visit, they were like, do you have somebody else living here? Like it looks like it's like somebody is already there. Like it's ready,
I love it. Well, that was Ken. And Ken used to set the table for two people.
Oh,
yeah. He used to
okay.
actually set the table. There's the next one. Next level, Romy.
Next level. Thank you. See, look at this. I'm getting personalized coaching. And I'm so excited for your podcast. Patricia, I think there's a misconception about feng shui that it's only for people that do woo-woo things. And what I know in my global travels is corporate offices of Fortune 500 companies based in the US here, both in the US and around the globe, use feng shui experts like you to set up their offices for prosperity and smooth teamwork. And we're so excited to share your podcast in my newsletter. So most of my newsletter is from our individuals and corporate clients who want to improve health. And we can't wait to share it because they need those basic tips of like what to do in their offices and in their bedrooms.
Yeah. Exactly. And that is something that, especially over the last 2 years, is I will be on Zoom and seeing people on Zoom meetings. We had a call with 700 people from a huge organization, and just see, like, some of them sent their photos in, but you could see some of them on Zoom. And I was like, where are they sitting? Oh my God, like they're probably so overwhelmed in this and this. And I could just tell by their setup of their space alone. So there's just
it's so funny.
much value.
I learned that from you. And so now when I'm on Zoom meetings and I see cardboard boxes in the background and vacuum cleaners and piles of junk, and they're like, oh, this needs to go get donated. It's no wonder that like they're telling me about like cluttered problems they're having on their team, and projects are cluttered up, and that they're having busy brain. It's I can just see from their office because I've worked with you. So it's very true. Oh my gosh, congratulations on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to share this one because I think this is so fun and this is so Romy. Feng shui in my home now feels like I'm missing into healing my health issues. Yeah. Thank you for that insight. It really, really is. And Romy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited. And everybody, you can tune in. And it's actually kind of funny. Most of the people who are on today have been guests in the past or will be guests. So that's super fun. Romy, thank you for coming and joining us today and for celebrating the podcast. It's fun. And anyone can go back and check on the past ones. Romy is there. And we talked a lot about improving your sleep as well. So it's like that synergy of the two of us.
It is. Oh my gosh, Patricia, congratulations on the podcast. And Raja sends love to your Toby. And we're celebrating you here from the United States.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your energy, and I'm so excited to have you here. So have a great day, Romy. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And we will see you soon. We've got our next guest on. This is like turbo news reporting. People are coming on. Like, that's so fun. So I'm gonna bye, Romy. So Romy has gone for a second, and we're going to be joining. We're going to have Patty. Just a reminder, the podcast has gone live today, and you can enter the competition to win all of those amazing prizes. We're bringing on Romy is beautiful inside and out, and we're bringing on someone as beautiful inside and out as Patty. So Patty's coming on a second, and you just have to go here. The more likes, shares, reviews that we get, the more that this message can be shared. We've heard some amazing results from Romy already, and now we are going over to bring the amazing Patty Lennon on. So Patty is coming on. She's like, hello, I'm here. Hi, Patty. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi. I was checking comments. I was doing the thing on Facebook.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me today. And actually, I was just saying that like loads of our guests today have been actually on the podcast. So Patty's interview will be also, we've an amazing interview of Patty that is in the Live Your Dreams version of it. So, Patty, how are you today?
I'm
Do you want
good.
to share?
How are you? I feel like
I'm
I did my
great.
makeup really quick and I can see okay, there we go.
I'm really grateful for everyone in the US who's been getting up early to do these do this. So Romy and Patty are on early, way earlier than us. So we're in the start afternoons. You're starting your day. So Patty, do you want to share what you do so everyone can know and hear more about you?
Yes, I'm the founder of the Receiving School, and at its heart, I help people understand how to receive the life they want, and at the deeper level, just to understand that God, source, the universe loves them and wants them to be happy, and how to let that love and support in.
And I just love the synergy between our work because they really just work hand in hand in terms of like that idea of feng shui is like making sure your home supports you, and opening up on the internal side is so important. We've had a lot of our community go through Patty's Receiving School as well.
Yes. And vice versa.
I know, it's so fun. Patty, I would love for you to share if there's anything you'd like to share about your own feng shui journey, because Patty's also done the feng shui, which is so funny. Like, we have clients who come in and I've done Receiving School. Just fun.
I have. I've done all the feng shui things, right? Well, I think the most fun story happened with the marriage area, just last year. So if that's okay, I'll share that story.
Yeah, sure. It's so fun.
But I will say, before I share that story, that my husband is not, I was just talking about this in my own community. Like, my husband is not like into like all the magic that, I am. Like, he is not a metaphysically oriented person. And I teach almost half of what I teach is metaphysically oriented. And he goes along with it. He trusts me, but not a big believer. So, with feng shui, as you start to put remedies in, it's physically obvious that things are being done. And he's kind of like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? But then when the final remedy went in, probably within 3 months, there was so many different shifts that he was like, okay, I'm a believer. I'm a believer. The report comes out every year, to update it. And, he's just like, what do we need to do? He still doesn't even 100% believe in it, in the remedies actually moving energy, but he knows they work. It's fascinating to watch him be that cuckoo. But anyway, so now I'm probably 3 years into it.
Yeah.
So last year I was doing an exercise. I don't know. Anyway, it was an exercise talking to the house, just seeing like how it's doing. And all of a sudden I zeroed in on a particular corner in our dining room, which is in our marriage area. We had a china cabinet and it just felt like heavy and bulky. And the net of it is we never use our china. I never even wanted crystal to begin with. I got a ton of crystal in our wedding, which I never even registered for. And I just decided this is crazy. I like open spaciousness, so we pulled out all the crystal, pulled out all the china. Our china cabinet was a 2-piece set. So it had a beautiful buffet that could stay, and the top part could go away. And it just opened up the space so much. We got the crystal in the hands of a few different people that love crystal. The china went to someone I know. Her kids had just got married and shockingly actually wanted china, because most young people don't, right?
Yeah.
So it all got to go where it could be loved and experience its highest vibration. But then within like a week of us doing that, my husband, I'd be walking, we both work from home right now and I'd be walking. He's like, I can't take my eyes off of you. We've been married for 20 years, by the way. He's like, I'm just enamored by you. Like, and then like, can we do stuff together? Which we do stuff together, but we've got 2 teenagers, our lives super busy, just wanting to be close. And, from my end, he was just less irritated. Like he said, like, sometimes it seems like everything he does is wrong, like that's how I make him feel, because I'm like apparently lovely like that. But like all of that started to go away, and there was just this like sweet gentle energy that seemed to like permeate our relationship. So to me, that was the sort of one of the most like interesting and cool experiences, because decluttering is a big piece of the puzzle at the early part of the program, but it's hard to maybe put your finger on how much the stuff you have and the physical space really does influence every piece of your life. So that's where I would go.
I love that. And you know what? It's so interesting you say that, a big piece of furniture, because that really triggered something in me, that conversation about it. I looked at my own house and I did not realize that my, believe it or not, we had a piano in our house. And, we had this piano there for like a few years. My mom had rang me, said, oh, do you want the piano? And I was like, yeah, sure. Ken, do you want the piano? Now, Ken and I never played piano. I tried to learn as a kid, but I never played it. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then I looked at the piano again and was like, just recently, because I was like really tuning into everything, like every nuance around the house. And I went, how did I not click? So the piano was actually from my parents' business, which I had worked in. Basically, it had like my dark night of the soul working there. It had been a very difficult 8 years. Some of it was good, but a lot of it was really tricky. And the piano, when I really started to think about the stories connected to the piano, it was a huge investment. It was always an issue. The piano player that used to come and play was like, used to get like, sometimes he'd be really happy and be great. And then other times he'd go through really depressed times and everyone would like, get rid of the piano player. So there was always an issue with the piano. And I totally did not even twig it until we had that conversation at the cabin. And then I was like looking around my own house. I was like, what is it? So the piano, and I said it to Ken, I was like, do you know that piano came from that? He was just like, what? And then I went, do you want to keep? I said, well, I'm thinking we should let it go. And he's like, oh. And it was interesting because the ego part was like, boy, we still have this beautiful piano in our house and it looks so good. And it, it's just like, oh, but Peter, and everyone come in and say, wow, your piano is beautiful. It was a beautiful piano. But I was like, oh my God, there was a lot more. It was a loaded, energetic piano that the minute it left, we just, it was in my creativity and new beginnings area, and the starting things, new things, like here's the podcast happening. It was just like all these new things started bubbling up, new people, it was like, whoa, because that literally was an absolute like relic of my past that the minute it went out the door, it was like, wow, what just happened? So very, very interesting little one. And actually, as I go through the podcast, I share loads of different stories. And that's one of the fun things, is that there's more time and space to share interesting stories of like things that you might have in your house that are actually holding you back.
Yeah, I think what's so fun, I love that you're doing, this like reimagining of the podcast, because I think it's the podcast.
Live Your Dreams Awake. Live Your Dreams Awake. What it was called.
No. Like the podcast, like the genre of it, but that's not the right word. Sort of like that portal to people. Like, I think it's so helpful to just keep the conversation alive inside of you. Right. And you and I are also friends. So I think it stays more top of mind for me than if I had taken a course, completed it, like making something a way of life almost requires a refreshing of your approach to it. Like sometimes it's, just because you listen to something, sometimes now through different ears, you can hear it differently, So I love that's happening, because I think that changes everything, right? Because you and I are in conversation, but not everyone gets to be your bestie like I do. So, having that conversation in your head, so that it is like, it wasn't like getting rid of the china cabinet what required it didn't require any investment, right?
No.
Like none. And it did require some courage because there was a lot of pushback just from the ego. Like people like, how could you get rid of your wedding china, on the anniversary of your 20th year together, right? What better? What better?
That's so true. And actually, I forget, like, obviously it's such a big part of our life, but as you're saying, but like you forget like little things, and you need to keep that reminder and keep it going. And what's been so interesting today is loads of our Powerhouse members have been commenting, going, oh, great, just for a refresher and for just a reminder, because it is nuanced and it is a journey with our homes. And that was something that I realized actually when I spoke to Anna, who's coming on later, who kind of advised me. And she's like, so Patricia, if you teach Feng Shui, why is Feng Shui not in the title of your podcast? And I was like, oh yeah. And I had a great time doing that podcast, and I had a great time like literally talking to my friends. We've got Joy coming on next, and like Patty, we had a great conversation about receiving and opening up to receiving, because that is hand in hand with the feng shui, like balancing your house and then opening yourself up energetically, as you let go on every layer, like many layers. It makes such a difference. And that's so fun. That's so true. Listening back after more knowledge gives you new perspective, and it's layers. I think that's the thing. It's like, it's not like it stops. We're on a constant evolution personally. So then the things that we no longer need or want, or the energy of our house, will keep changing over and over. So I'm glad that I'm doing the podcast. It's going to have a more focus on feng shui. But I'm also delighted that everyone else's episodes from the past are going to stay still. And someone had asked me saying, oh, you're all the old ones from Live Your Dreams Awake are there. And I'm like, yeah, because they're still really potent, every conversation. And it's that synergy between that idea of our own personal growth and our home that is so, so powerful.
Yes. Yeah. And, even with what, hey, Toby.
There's Toby having a little conniption about something.
I always take it when technology messes up or animals choose to let us know their presence, it's because something really important was just said. So I'll just say that, which what I talk about, and it's interesting because manifestation is where you and I definitely are both teaching into. The manifestation conversation has really been alive lately. And when you think about like getting rid of the piano requiring ego to be released, and for me, getting rid of the china, to let go of the shoulds, it's when you are in a relationship with your physical space, you're constantly in a relationship with your limiting beliefs. So you just are constantly being challenged to see, where is my thinking keeping me stuck? Because at its heart, that's what manifestation is. It's only your ability to truly honor what you want and take all the other limitations away. The only reason to keep the piano is because it's beautiful. It's worth a lot of money. It's, whatever. Keep the china. I might need it one day. Honestly, if it could have gone in the dishwasher, I would have just started using it. But of course, I got mine with silver plated rims. So it can't even go in the dishwasher or the microwave. Useless to a busy mother with teenagers, right? Honoring who you are and who you are on the journey. And that's why I love the podcast too, because I think that just then keeps you just like reorienting to what you believe, what your ego thinks doesn't necessarily apply.
Mm-hmm. And there's like so many, this is the layers, but it's so fun when you start looking at it from a new perspective. And even like, for me, what was so interesting recording the podcast was literally sitting in studio for 3 hours and like looking up and be like, that's done, 3 hours. I have no idea what I said. I don't even remember. And it was just that the guy was like, you're very good at this. And I said, well, I just know it. And the things that were popping out, I was like, oh, I have to tell this story, because that is like the real detachment from, this is trusting that it's all working. And I did do a live earlier on today about like this, like literally last night at about 10 o'clock going, maybe we shouldn't do it. I'm going to quit, because it was just like, so it all looks so smooth on the outside today. Thank God. But last night and this morning wasn't quite that. And I was like, But that's the thing. It's like we just moved through it, and that was showing up as a resistance for me. Like, and I was like, this is so interesting because we have to get over ourselves and just get on with it. And I just really was like, nope, get on with it. Come on, next. This is happening. Stop. Oh, thank you so much, Patty, for coming on and joining us.
Yes.
I'm so grateful to have you here. Everyone, you can go and look up on the podcast the episode. So when you go there, you can look at the Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast competition, enter the competition, leave a review, and then you can go back and check out Patty's interview as well. It was definitely very illuminating, as we'll have with everybody's. And you see all the fun prizes. That's for reviewing the podcast. Thank you, Patty, for coming and joining us. It's super fun, and for sharing your amazing story. I love it. That was so fun. Bye, Patty. So now we are moving on. I honestly, 15 minutes is not enough for everybody. And now we're bringing Joy on. This is so fun. Honestly, as a kid, people used to ask me what I wanted to be, and it was a news reporter. And I remember going up and saying to the a presenter on Irish TV, I saw her in a hotel bar once, and I was so nervous, and my dad was like, go up and say hello and tell her that you want to be a news reporter. And I did. So I feel like I'm doing it now today. It's super fun. But reporting good news and positive vibes is definitely more down my track. So for everyone joining me today or coming in new, this is Patricia here, and we're just celebrating the launch of my Powerhouse podcast. And I have some of my past guests coming on today to share, but also to, just have some fun. And we have Joy. Hi, Joy. Where are you in the world today? I know where you are, but nobody else does.
Yes. I'm in Clearwater, Florida. Thank you. And so excited to be on here with you and have some great conversation and celebrate your podcast.
Thank you so much. Joy, I actually when I was like, oh, Joy and I, what are we going to chat about? And I thought it was so interesting because you have shifted your environment. You made a big move, and maybe you want to share about that and how that has changed your life, because it definitely has.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we talked about it in our podcast episode a little bit too, that we did together last year. It was so fun about how when your environment isn't supporting you, and that it's not supporting your well-being and your health, and something is off, even if it's where you grew up and everyone expects you to stay. I love watching all your adventures, Patricia, how you're just, you're jet setting around in beautiful environments and traveling. It's so inspiring. But, we had this vision, like someday we're going to live where it's warm and sunny. And we had lived in Pennsylvania or Maryland or the northeastern part of the United States, pretty much, in different places our whole life. And we were just like, I'm depressed in the winter, not really depressed, but, just kind of like, and bored. And, it just, and then, I was always thinking in the future, like we're going to retire, near the beach. And it just occurred to me one day, and I'd been in the manifestation process for a lot of other things in our life. And it was just like seeing the flow. I'm like, why aren't we doing this now? Why aren't we making what we want real now? Why are we waiting? And there's all these reasons, all these stories. Well, because of my kids or because of family or because of this, and this, it's just create like you say, create the life of your dreams, and go for it. But I had in my mind, because I had a beach house on my vision board, like a house right on the beach. And I thought, well, that's when I can afford the beach house. That's when I'll move. And I was like, duh, wait a minute, just get closer to the beach. So it was actually 3 years ago this week that we were house hunting all around. Like we did like this massive whirlwind tour of houses, and we ended up buying a house 15 minutes from the beach. And it was like, here we are. And it's just been wonderful and beautiful to just be in more sunshine. And it's just been so good for all of us. And I love what you share about, our environment and, that we can manifest the life we want. And a lot of the things that we see as blocks and that's not possible, it really is. It really
It
is.
totally is. And
Yeah.
you know what? You were talking about the sea, and actually Ken and I were chatting yesterday about we actually went to the sea. So we live probably about 20 minutes from the sea here. And you know, in Greece, we live right by the beach, which is so beautiful. And I just love the sea. I grew up by the sea. But there is a contrast. And actually, you know, if you've spent a lot of time in mountains and in nature, in trees, and that's very earthy. But actually by the water, it's like, this is very feng shui. Like when you're by water, there's just more flow. And you don't need to necessarily be on top of it. And that's why it's really important to have a bit of all of the elements. I often find when I'm up here in the mountains in Dublin that I need to go to the sea and the water more regularly, because I've got so much of this like wood element and earth element. And I'm like, I need water. So we went down at the beach.
Right.
Yeah. And we have this water element, and all of these elements in nature actually impact us and support us and help us. But being near the water can definitely support that sense of flow. And obviously the heat, which is kind of like fire element, but of heat.
Exactly.
As well.
Yes.
And what you said about that idea, I suppose, you know, what's so fun is the rebrand of the podcast has been around living your dreams awake. And that's why I had like Joy on the podcast, because I just had seen her transforming her life to live your dreams awake. And for me, one of the enablers is Powerhouse. So what was so fun when we realized, oh, we don't have feng shui in the podcast name, so we need to change that over. We need to change that. And it's actually now it's like Powerhouse Feng Shui Podcast.
Sure.
So you can live your dreams awake, and it's the enabler of it. And that's so, so vital. And it's important for me to have kept the previous episodes to role model living your version of your dreams awake. You know, because one of the things I realized, and you were like, I want to live by the sea, and you've got beautiful Florida, was that we spent years Bali and Greece and America and Slovenia trying all these places, but actually we didn't, no offense to it, but we didn't actually realize we were trying to find one place. And what we just boiled down is that there isn't one. And it's really important about, you know, Powerhouse and living your dreams awake is that you have to do your way.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's and I love that. Like to be in that, you kind of have to be in that curiosity, explore mindset. Like see what I want. Maybe you don't know exactly what you want, or you think it's this, and you start following it, and then you get clarity on something else, right? Of what that looks like. So it's like one thing takes you to the next level of clarity, and what that dream life looks like might be different, you know, a year from now, 2 years from now. And to really be in that space of flow and curiosity of like, that's the fun part, you know, when you're really in that flow of living your dreams, like what's next, you know,
what is next?
What's next?
Yeah.
You know, and there's always going to be a good thing that's next.
It totally is. And it's actually, I just love that of like asking the questions, like what is next? What's next? And, you know, on the way in, and I haven't shared this with anyone yet, but like on the way into the podcast and recording studio, and I know Joy also has a lovely convertible and I'm a big fan. And she's in Florida. We're in Ireland with ours. And it was crazy. And I was like, I have my big warm jacket and my hat and gloves. I don't care when it's clear skies. I have the roof down, and people are like, what the hell? I'm like, I want the fresh air. I sit in my house all day. I want the fresh air.
Absolutely. So I have a funny story about that too, because I used to like drive out of my garage and like want to hide the convertible and not put the top down till I left the, you know, this was several years ago. And I'm like, you know what? You know, sometimes you can worry about what people think in the process too, like
totally.
You said, right?
Yeah, totally.
What does she think she is, or she's crazy?
Completely. And you know what? I was driving down. Ken was driving. Toby was at home, and we were in the car, music playing, the sun was shining, and we ended up facing down on a street that I used to work on when I had my bicycle, and like a convertible was like the furthest thing away from my reality. Like I basically was doing someone's email newsletter, so I could have free rent on the room to do my therapy sessions. Like that's what I was doing. Like, I was not being paid. I was cycling there, and I would do her newsletter so I could have free rent on my, because she saw me doing newsletters, and she's like, I need someone to do my newsletters. I have a room that you can use for free. And I was like, okay, that works for me. So that was like, and I literally, my heart burst open and I was bawling, crying. And Ken is like, are you okay? And I'm like, this is like happy tears, but overwhelming tears of like how far you can come and how much your life can change, and how just asking the question, like, show me what's next, like, what's the next step? And the idea of coming in the car would have been just like completely like, what? Who's that one? And now like, oh my God, look at this.
If you could have seen your future self, you would have not believed it.
No, I would not have believed it, you know, and it was just all through these synchronistic things and that sense of trust and showing up to what's next. And I know you totally believe in that as well, Joy.
100%. And I think too, you know, what I teach, you know, women who are growing their business is about simplicity and keeping a simple business model. It's like in a business environment that supports you too, right? That's so important. Just like your home environment and your, you know, your environment outside, you know, it's like that theme of like, and I think as women, like we don't advocate for that for ourselves. Like we need to, you know, and really say, this isn't working for me, or something is off, or this is not feeling right, you know, to really express that and take some action. You know, follow Patricia's podcast. She's going to have so much to share in the months ahead on these topics that you're just going to be blown away and challenged to start speaking up for what you want, what you need. What you're just
Totally. And I think this is so important, is just action. And I think that is like, literally, I was listening to the podcast because I haven't even listened to the episodes. Like, I'll just admit it. I recorded them. I don't remember what they said, but I was one was on today and I was like, oh, the sound quality is way better from the studio. And I literally, the first line goes, you only get results from action. Like, action is not in the word attraction for no reason. And it is so vital for you to actually take action, because if you don't take action, you're not going to see results. And it's so important with whatever thing that you know, just one step, like, you know, and especially, I know, you know, I just, as you said, that simplify your business to grow it. Like, it's basically feng shuiing your business. Like, we simplify our homes, we align our houses. So it's like all the different parts line up and balance.
Exactly. And it's what really creates that clear path forward, you know. And here's the thing too, sometimes it's imperfect action. You know, a lot of times we wait for the perfect scenario or the perfect situation, or like, well, this is exactly how I wanted it to look, and it doesn't look like this, so this must be wrong. Or that must not be my next step. Sometimes it's just get the energy going. You know, start taking a step in that direction.
I know. And actually, funnily enough, I used to, you know, we have an Audi. So, but like when I was in university, I didn't have like guys' pictures up, like, you know, poster boys up on I had a poster of an Audi.
No way. Oh, I love that.
An Audi. And, you know, that car came through me seeing things and be like, okay, we need to, you know, and it's part of this journey of like, we just don't even never know what the seeds we're planting. So we may as well plant positive seeds of like powerful intention. You know, it's so important, like so important.
You had a chance to meet my husband, Brian, when we did a group couples that have businesses together call. And, you know, back 8 years ago when he was driving a Kia Rondo, which is like, you know, a cheap car to work every day, he was pretending we were acting as if it was a BMW, you know, and then we had a BMW family car, and then we got a BMW convertible, like the fun car, you know, and it's just like, you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter if you're driving the little Kia Rondo right now or whatever you think is like, oh, I just have this little thing, you know, just start allowing yourself to be that person who has that, who's in that energy, and start to get in that manifestation readiness.
Yeah. And actually, that's so interesting, because I can't remember what number episode it is in the new podcast, but I did do one where we actually reviewed and visualized and set the intentions for every area of your life. Because I was just like, if you don't know what you want, you're not going to get it. Like, and even if it feels totally far flung, we've seen such phenomenal results with our clients, and they blow my mind that like at our Live Your Dreams Awake event, we had a VIP lunch, and one of the ladies some of them shared their wins, and we all just came away going, we're not thinking big enough. You're not thinking, no matter if your dreams are absolutely ginormous, you still need to think even bigger.
Wow.
You're just like not thinking big enough. So because there is amazing resources to support us.
Yes.
And we just have to start like sowing the seeds. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Joy, for coming on. This has been so fun. I actually was a bit like, will I be able to do 3 hours? And I'm like, okay, I'm Marion. It's all good. It's easy. It's fun when it's fun people that you know and that you have a connection with. And as I said, Joy's episode is on the podcast already, so you can go back and check that out. It's super fun to have some people that have already been on the show and new people that are going to be joining us soon as well. So that's so fun. Diving onto Feng Shui. Thank you, Joy, so much. And,
Yes.
We will see you. People can go check for that. And don't forget, you can go, and if you want to find the podcast, you can go to this link here. And once you go there, you'll then also get the competition prizes that are all popping up there. Loads of fun prizes for anyone who rates and reviews the podcast today. Thank you, Joy. Have an amazing day. I'm on to my next guest. Oh my God, I never thought it would be like so close to the line. We're going to bring Anne on now. Thanks, Joy. Have a great day. We're bringing Anne Toohey on. Anne recently had me on her show, on her group. So, hello, Anne.
Hi there, Patricia. You're playing a blinder.
Oh, thank you very much. The sound has gone a little bit weird there.
I thought so too, actually.
Is that better?
I think it is. It's really fuzzy. Oh, that's coming back again to me.
Do you want me to go back out and come in again?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Now, if I leave studio, will I get back in? We'll see.
You will, because it's the same link. Okay. I'm just taking Anne out because that sound got really weird. And now, talk about an example of sound quality. Oh, I never understood. And Anna was like, the sound quality in your old podcast. Thank you for your comments, everybody. Thank you. That was so interesting. You said about when animal barks and technology fails, it means something important was said. That's totally bad echoes. Yeah, we changed it over. That's so true. That's so good. Actually, that's so fun. I loved this comment as well. Thank you. Less irritation equals true love. Isn't that a big win after 20 years of wedded bliss? Patty, you're a gem. I love it. Yes, it is about, and that's one of the good things that we have so much of our own community here sharing and being online. This is just all the reminders of like, we have to keep it fresh in our mind and just like tiny little nuances that you'll hear as we move through it. So hopefully Anne is back and we'll get her back in to get the sound.
Okay,
No,
is that better?
It's still a bit fuzzy, but there's no echo.
Okay, because I did a sound check just there and it did. Yeah. It seemed fine.
Yeah, it's just kind of like an extra. It's like there's a little extra sound in the background. I'm laughing because literally we had that conversation with our with Anna, who was doing the podcast, saying like your sound quality on your podcast was not very good, Patricia, before, and I was like, oh, it's all good. So Anne, do you want to tell everyone where you are in the world?
Absolutely. My name is Anne Toohey. I'm an interior designer with Room Junkie, and I'm up in the northwest of Ireland in sunny Donegal.
Oh, very, very nice. And actually, Anne is an interior designer and she had me on her program, but I would love for you to share just your little journey because it's been so fun with you starting going online and everything. I thought actually, because Anne had me on her group, hers recently.
And my guys loved you. They loved you, Patricia. They're still talking about you.
Oh, thank you.
So, listen, how did I go online? Way back at the start of lockdown in Ireland, there was one Friday where I had loads of brand new builds, which is what I specialise in, and fantastic projects just waiting to happen. And my phone started to ring early in the morning, and it was postpone, postpone, postpone. And then that became cancel, 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 and everything stopped. Every site was closed down, every job was just not going to happen. And I cried for 24 hours, and then I thought, cop yourself on, Anne. You are not the only person in this position. You have tons of knowledge, and now is your time to get out there and share everything that you know about interior design with your people, just to distract them and inspire them. And lo and behold, over 500,000 people later, I'm still going strong. I've launched an online interior design masterclass because of it, have a fantastic community, and loads of people have totally transformed their homes because of it. So it's been a really good story. And it started because of a whim and a notion.
And I absolutely love that, because I think, honestly, the first podcast that I did, Live Your Dreams Awake, that definitely was on a whim and a notion. It was like, I think I'll do a podcast, and I think I'll interview all my friends. And this one definitely isn't as much on the whim and a notion one. We've gone really intentional, and it's definitely Anna came on and was like, we need to do this, and this has to, there's a lot more potential, as opposed to hiding behind the guests. Although today I have loads of guests on, which is kind of fun, because I love talking to people.
My goodness, I mean, I don't know how you've done it. It's been wall to wall, but it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I love how Anne, I would love to talk just a little bit about colour, Anne, and how you bring colour into your homes, because that's one of the things I'll be talking about on the podcast. And use of colour.
Okay, I do like using colour, judicious colour. I actually did a Facebook Live last week about dopamine decor. For the last year or 12 months, the fashion people they've involved this colour psychologist. I mean, you're wearing colour, I'm wearing colour. That's no coincidence, because we're buying it in the shops. But those colours actually, they have the dopamine effect, the feel-good effect. It's like eating a bar of chocolate or going for a run. It gives you a bit of a high. So if you can do the same in your home, you'll actually raise your energy, you'll improve your mental health, you'll just, improve home life for everybody in your home. So I use strong colours. I've come from a house today, I've been hanging curtains and finishing off a gorgeous house where we used tons of energizing colour, because that was my client's personality. But even the dopamine colours, you can have them in more subdued colours. You can have them in lilacs and lavenders and paler greens and blues, and it will have the same effect. It depends on your personality. But colour, we couldn't live in a black and white world. We have to have colour.
Just on me myself, I was just wondering, was that me on the sound? But yeah, we do use a lot of with the elements, and it's very intentionally designed. We had Romy on earlier on. He was like, I use my personal report to decorate my whole house, like using the accurate colors that support it, because the colors are actually a huge part of the elements that we use with Powerhouse, so, and with Feng Shui. So I will definitely be I have some episodes planned around the use of color from a Feng Shui perspective. But what would you say to people about using colour in their house from an interior design perspective? Because I'm not an interior designer, and this is something I always tell people. I'm not an interior designer.
Okay, I prefer to keep backgrounds fairly neutral, keep big things like your sofas fairly neutral, and then to have fun, in your art, in your cushions, in your rugs, in your throws. And texture is a colour as well. So having velvet and mohair and silks and beautiful tactile fabrics has the same effect. But you can have fun with your colour, and colour has a negative association for some people. It could be your school uniform, it could be something that reminds you of an unhappy time. So only have the colours that make you feel joyous. For me, it's definitely the pinks, the oranges, those colours, I love them. But whatever your colour is, you create the recipe. But you use them and you inject lots of colour, and you don't just have a splash of colour in one corner, you need to carry it cohesively throughout the space. So there's a lovely balance. It's the yin and yang of colour. You've got the neutrals to support the colour, but it's a colour that actually, it's a lipstick. It just gives you the buzz and the energy and makes you feel happy. And after a long session of lockdowns, we need to feel happy and supported in our homes. And I do believe colour will do that.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I'm so happy to hear exactly what you said, because people always ask me, like, where do I start with colour? And I'm always like, just start with the blank canvas and with that kind of more neutrals, and then you can add the colors and tweak them and play with them. And we would do exactly the same with the artwork in our house, and everything moves because the Chinese New Year, the cycles change every year, so we would move and change things around. And just simple changes is some things with the feng shui, like, so this year, for example, we needed to bring fire element into our landing, and I was like, into our hallway, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to fire? And I have like one picture with some red in it, and I was like, and then I went, so I got these beautiful red kind of ox blood colored velvet lampshades for the lamps. And I was like, there's my feng shui. So some people think that the feng shui is going to be something really difficult to do. But we actually just brought it in with something very simple and balanced that area with just literally changing the lampshades. So it's super fun.
Balance is the right word, actually. You must balance your colour. And actually, my client who I was with today, she has just moved from a very large house to a smaller house, and she had loads of artwork that she loved. That's the word I like to hear, love. And I have this theory that no matter how many times you move home, you can take that artwork. I will find a space, and we've just positioned all of them. It's taken hours, but it's done. A little tip too, if somebody is struggling with colour, find something you love, like a cushion. Because if you've got a I don't have a cushion behind me, lots of colour in a cushion, colours that you love, it's very easy then to pick those colours out and to get accessories and different things in that colour, and maybe have your neutral colour as a background colour of your wall colour as the background colour of your cushion, if that makes sense. And then the whole scheme works, but the colour supports you. It just gives you a massive boost of energy.
Exactly. And this is so kind of similar to what I want to be doing in the podcast. So I've got like very themed sessions every week. There'll be like a theme, kind of very me solo episodes, which is new for me, and then once a month to bring on an expert to talk on some way of like integrating the feng shui in. So this is really helpful for our members of Powerhouse, but for everybody essentially, to kind of learn better with color. And later on, you know, Anne-Marie Kingston, Anne-Marie's going to be coming on, and she'll be our decluttering expert coming on the podcast as well. But I think it's just important for us to recognize the importance of our environment and to keep it on our, you know, like you definitely help people like become more connected to their energy of their homes as well.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm absolutely convinced that your home has the power to impact your mental health, Patricia. And again, Anne-Marie will get into this. It's about decluttering. It's about getting rid of anything with negative association, things that remind you of a time when somebody died, was sick, an unhappy relationship. Get it out of your house. Do not have it hanging on your walls, reminding you every time you walk into the room. You must only have things that create positive association.
Oh my God.
And genuinely make you happy.
Yeah, totally. And I'm just like
that.
thinking about like those positive associations, because I'm sitting in my own office here and I'm like, one of my friends, they bought me, or two of my friends, they bought me this picture here, the unicorn. And they said that they saw it and they were just like, it's just Patricia. It's a magical unicorn.
See?
We have to have it. And it just reminds me of all this amazing work I've done there. But then right here is this beautiful picture by actually one of our clients. She made it, and it has hummingbirds in it. And it's just so gorgeous. And I was like, oh my God, like the hummingbirds have an amazing energy symbolism. And I was like, oh my God, and it reminds me. But on my desk, I actually have a candle, and it's featured, this candle is spoken about prominently on my podcast. I think it's like the third episode, not just about the actual candle, but the person who gave it to me and her journey on the feng shui journey. And I lit it the day that we launched, the day I recorded the podcast. First day I brought it into the studio and had it lighting there. And it was basically just as a memory and a connection of the most incredible community that we have and the amazing successes that people have. And, you know, there's things in your life and in your home that will have very positive anchors. And every time I see this, like yesterday and last night when I was like, that's it, I'm not doing the podcast, and I'm having a freak out, and this morning, just all this stuff not going, I just kind of went and looked at the candle and I was like, oh, and then I had Sasha behind me and I was like, oh no, this is, you to keep on track. This is why you're doing this. This is why you're doing it.
You're wrapped in a hug. Actually, it's something that I encourage all my people to do too, is to create a signature scent for your home. Find something that you absolutely adore, and don't have 10 different candles burning in 10 rooms. Have the same scent. Even when my boys go away, Richard is in Australia, I always pop a little one of our candles in to remind him of home. If I'm going away, I'm going to Spain tomorrow, I'll bring my candle with me. Because again, just like colours, scents will evoke memories maybe of childhood, happy times, holidays, whatever. And that's what you want, all these things that contribute together collectively to the happiness and the energy in your home.
I absolutely love that of the signature scent, and actually that's so true. And interestingly, that's peony, that blush that's here. And in my bath, I had like a peony scented salt bath last night. I was like, and it had I think it was geranium, but that kind of bright floral flavor smell. And that's everyone's different. What a great idea. Never thought of that. This is why
I've done it for years, and now everybody's doing it. Yeah. It's and once you do it, you'll never go back to have it. And then people get used to, if they're buying you a gift, they know exactly what to get you until you change your signature scent. Yes.
Oh my God, what a great idea! And actually, you know, you could either make your own, but also when it comes to the scent, that is a type of feng shui. So there's like shen qi, sha qi. And it comes like everything has a feng shui. So, you know, if a house has a bad smell, obviously that's bad feng shui, you know, if something visually isn't nice, it's going to be bad feng shui as well. So it's all in sync. And I just love how, you know, you're coming from an interior design perspective, and how these ideas are so synergistic. You know, there's so much that's so synergistic.
Because they work. They work. Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally. Oh my God, Anne, it's been so good to have you on. And I'd love to have you talking more. So we'll have to do something about
anytime. I'm Irish. I love to talk, just like you. Yes.
Our tooth are magic pink.
Yes.
So grateful for having you here, and just to kind of explore color and another insight about how we'll be doing the podcast as it's being launched now. It's kind of exciting. So thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom with us, Anne. And it's great to see you, and I'm grateful for you and our community.
Thank you. It was my privilege. I'm so thrilled, absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And have a wonderful rest of podcast.
I will. Podcast launch. Thanks a million, Anne.
Thanks a million. Bye. Talk to
Oh, yes. Oh my God. Now my sound seems a lot better. I hope everyone's feeling a bit better. But that's great. I love the idea of the scent. I diffuse oils and choose my scent for my day. Oh, that's nice, Sinead. I love that. Yeah, another one, loving the idea of the home scent. You see, this is also part of it. So we'll have our weekly, we'll have our calls where we will connect weekly or with our podcast episodes. I'm just checking my phone because I know that, let me see. All good. That's, I can't remember who's to be joining on in 15 minutes, but I will check now in a second because I'm looking to see. Let me see. Here's Skye. She's on. She's just popped on. I was like, perfect. I was like, who's on now? And I know it switched times around. So I'm going to bring Skye on. Skye helps people feng shui their businesses in a different way, organizing, setting them all up. So we're just talking about the smells in houses. We are literally hopping from one thing to the next, but it's super fun because I feel like actually that's one of the things is feng shui is all encompassing. And the podcast looks at every part of your home and your life, but also your business. So I wanted to bring on some people that also would business stuff as well, because obviously that's a huge part of my business and my life is helping people in their businesses. Skye, do you want to tell everyone where you are and how you help people?
And I'm wearing hot pink just to celebrate your podcast launch. Congratulations! This is so exciting. So you're joining me. I am in quite sunny Oxfordshire on our farm where we live just outside Oxford in I'm not quite sure what you would say about my house, Patricia, a 16th century farmhouse. So it's full of a lot of history steeped in this.
Interesting. Yes. I don't know if you caught the call with Patty earlier, but that could be, or the part with Patty earlier, but that could be an interesting one for you to listen, who you switched times with, thankfully.
Oh. Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
I love your vibe. I love your energy. Your podcast is amazing and a dose of inspiration for lots of people, I know.
Oh, thank you so much. Skye and I met at an event, but I had heard a lot about her beforehand, and I actually kind of introduced her because I was like, she kind of feng shui's her business, or feng shui's you to be more organized. Do you want to explain how it is you help people? Because I think that this is one of the important things is that that energy of feng shui is really around alignment and getting support. And I help people get their homes supporting them. You help people get people to help.
Exactly that. So kind of the official title is leadership and team coach. But what I do is I allow people to declutter from the doing of business and home activity. So it's really about the activity and to be able to step up to become the visionary that they want to be in their business. And I do that through time, focusing on where they spend their time, the talent from themselves and the people around them, and team, because as one person, we can only do so much. So really, it's all about empowering others and activating their energy and their talent so that you can do the stuff that brings you joy and more of it, which allows you to grow your business.
I know. This is so huge because actually one of the most important things for me that's allowed me to grow the business is having that kind of support in every level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look at it holistically. Like it can't just be business. The first person I needed was home support because I mean, was at the time of starting my business, I had a brand new baby and I couldn't do it all by myself. And I wanted to spend more time in the business than I did just being a mommy. And that's nothing to say those who just want to be parents, but that's not me. I need to use my brain. I wanted to be that financially independent person. So to get the balance of both worlds was my aim. And I
Mhm.
kind of grew up in a very traditional setting and farmer's daughter. My dad worked all the hours he could to fund us 4 children. My mum gave up her dream of business because she couldn't get the team in place to support her. So one gave up their dream to be a stay-at-home mum, and the other one never saw us because he was always working. And I knew I wanted a blend of both. And you can't do that without having the right people around you to help you.
That's for sure. And, you know, we had like some mini miscommunications podcast last night when I was like, I'm just going to double check everything. And then I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of things not done. Crap. And it was like literally all on hands on deck at 8 o'clock this morning with everyone on the team going, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing? And that was literally how this all happened today, because it was not as seamless as it looks on the outside. Hopefully it looks seamless on the outside.
It does. But isn't that the amazing thing though? Because all of a sudden it's not just down to you to like get all the ducks in a row. But how is it feeling today for you in this podcast launch?
It feels really good. So it definitely is a new it's a new edge for me doing solo episodes. And I know that you recently launched your podcast, and I thought that you would kind of get it. I was like, you know, there's a lot of pieces to the jigsaw puzzle to putting it together and planning it out. And that was something that I took for granted in the past. In my old version, I just was like, I'm going to interview this person and that's it. And we really didn't do much promotion. I would just say, join me on my podcast, and I would just share it out once. And it was not kind of like planned out and decided going, wow, I actually want to help people with their feng shui. It was like, I just want to have a nice time. It was very self-centered. The whole podcast was like, oh, I really like Skye, I'll have you on my podcast to chat. You know, and sometimes I would feel like I had like a personal healing or a personal consultation from somebody after the podcast. But I know obviously they'd get exposure to the community, but this was very much like, actually, I'm just showing up to support everyone in our community now. I'm like, it's not about me anymore. And just as you were coming on, we were talking about scents for your homes, and Anne is an interior designer just before you. But I have this candle which was given to me by one of my clients at my live event. And she's just had like an amazing, amazing success story. She just put a deposit in her first home. So many amazing wins. Her business has quadrupled. And I just was like, oh my God, like this is my anchor. And this is why it's not about me anymore. It's more about like the people. You know, it's about like, and that's really for you as well. It's like, it's about that person's bigger dream and vision and what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be like scary and sometimes lonely when you start a business. And yes, there are the communities and stuff we can be all part of. But when that responsibility hits, about not just responsibility for financial the wins, and like if you hire a team member, like their financial responsibility, but also the responsibility of like, you have a big mission, you want to impact more people, you want to get that out to the world. Like I feel a huge sense of duty to get more knowledge out there. And for the podcast, my own podcast for me was about how can I share the absolute maximum value in the simplest, easiest way for me, selfishly, because I hate writing, but I love talking. and ultimately help as many people as possible for free. Like that was my mission with the podcast. And I got to let you into a little secret though. I said to my team, I was like, this is only going to work if I have to like show up, do the recording, write nothing and walk away, like press save and walk away. And they're like, okay, we'll do the rest around you. And so it's happened. And we're so consistent, and it's nothing to do with me. I just do the content and everything else is taken care of. But that's when you play to your strengths and you do what you do best, and you get help with the rest in the right place. And it just aligns. It feels great. And all of a sudden it's not an effort. It's not a chore. It's not even, it doesn't feel like work. It's just a conversation. Sometimes I have a glass of wine whilst doing mine as well.
Oh my God, that's so fun. I haven't had a glass of wine. I had lots of green juice and I was 3 hours in the studio. And actually I have green juice. It's reminded me to have my green juice here in front of me. Now I have to totally tell the truth about this. And this is similar. Like I went into the studio, and obviously we planned things out, went into the studio, and both Skye and I worked with Anna to get our podcasts out, and she's this lovely sheet that you're like episode number 1 and the name of it and all the things. That was fine. So the morning of the podcast, all I had written was I printed the 10 pages and I'd written the name on each one. And I'm like, I'm ready. And then I was like, I should possibly do some more. And I sat with my markers and was like writing a few notes. So I literally had about 5 words on every page. Some of those words were fun story, not even describing what the fun story was going to be.
It'll come to me. It'll come.
So I went into the studio, and the guy, I'd never recorded in the studio before. I went in, I had been there before, and I sat down and I was like, right, I've got 10 episodes to record. And he just kind of looked at me going, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Because he's been like, obviously he's a professional studio. I sat down and lit my candle, did a 5-minute meditation, probably the first time any studio has ever had someone like lighting candles and doing space clearings and meditating before I go online. And then he just said, okay, I'm ready. And I just like, okay, next one. And I don't really know what is in, I know that I recorded quality content for each one of them, but I didn't know what stories were going to come up. I didn't know how I was going to really talk it out. And it was very much like in a container of like, this is just meant to be come out. And what some of the feedback that I've had today, which was like total flow state, because I didn't have to do anything else. I just had to show up and be there and be like, this is coming through me for everybody else. And the stories that came out surprised me, a lot of them. Because I was like, you know what? Someone who's listening to this is going to need to hear this. Like, that's my understanding of this process. And it was just so fun. And basically at 5:05, I looked up and looked at the guy and I was like, I'm done now. And he was just like kind of dumbstruck looking at me. He's like, who
is this brightly colored candle meditation?
You're pretty good at this thing. And I was like, he's like, you're good. Like that, you know, I was like, oh, thanks. But what was really nice to hear was, you know, in the past, I think, like, I know that when I looked back on my original podcast and my original YouTube videos, it would be very much like, hi, I'm Patricia and welcome to Feng Shui. And now it's like the tonality and the energy is very different, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I agree with you. It's done wonders for my imposter syndrome, my podcast, in that, I mean, to be on the launch, and Anna teaches you so well how to launch. And we just got, like, I think we're at nearly 90 5-star reviews, which is obviously wonderful to read. And I'm very grateful for that. But more so, I'm with you, just in the flow state of just talking. And then I listen every week to them back so that I can like create some content off the back of listening again. And it always surprises me. I'm like, oh, it sounds really good and really professional. And I'm like, oh, this is so much better than I even remember at the time. And it just reminds me that when we walk away from something and we get a different perspective, we can take something totally different than when we're in the moment, in the zone, just focusing on value and content, to then being like the one absorbing and listening. I hope it's not too egotistical to say that actually you realize they're really good, and how no wonder they get good reviews. And so good on you for just allowing yourself to be present and go with it. And it makes it way more fun to be consistent.
Yeah. And actually what's so fun and what just it struck me there was that, like, you know, I love what you do, Skye, and how you help people. And, you know, I don't know if right this minute I need Skye's help, but I know that in the future, because of what you create and what you do, that there's potential for that, you know, and your reputation precedes you. And that's where what's so important. And I was just thinking about, like, the lady who gave me the candle, she's famous now, Nicola. She's probably listening. But she was 3 years before she decided to join us at Powerhouse. Like, she was part of my world for 3 years. And I wanted to make sure that, like, at least if you can't afford to or be able to be in my program, that at least you're doing something around your house, like, and there's something that you can do. Whereas, and be in that mindset of doing something, changing something, taking some action, because there's so many layers. And that's the really important thing, is that, you know, not everybody is going to be ready right now to join and to do Feng Shui, but like, you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk about those small stepping stones. And I was listening to, is it Joy who was on a few minutes ago?
Yeah, Joy, yeah.
She was saying about, like, you were talking about taking action and taking steps. And I was like, I absolutely agree. Like, taking small imperfect steps, because all of a sudden you look back, you're like, wow, I've come so far. Whereas when you think like, oh, this is a huge goal, I want to launch a podcast, I want to Feng Shui in my house, I mean, to me that sounds like, oh, this would be a huge task. But actually, if you take small stepping stones and you start with free content and make little changes, see that your own improvement, then you're like, right, I want to invest in something, I want to find out how this can help me more. You've already dipped your toe in. And you know what? I was so passionate about my podcast because I'd spent a year and a half commuting 120 miles a day listening to basically Denise Duffield Thomas's podcast. And I felt like I knew her just from the conversations we're having. And she was the first online program I ever bought. And I thought, wow, that was such an inspiration, just listening in all that time, driving to work, picturing, leaving my business, starting my own business, being totally terrified. And I felt like she was in my ear. And I thought, actually, I'd love to be able to offer that to, you know, in a different way in my own field to people, just the same as you have with your podcast. So congratulations. Well done you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for wearing pink. I think it seems to be the theme. Anne had pink on earlier as well. Like, it's so fun. I didn't know that pink was going to be the theme today, but it obviously is. Skye, thank you so much for coming on and for celebrating the podcast, because I know that you have just gone through it yourself. And what's the name of your podcast and how can people find it?
Full Freedom for Entrepreneurs. And yeah, it's with myself, Skye Barber. So go and have a look on any podcast streaming, Spotify, Apple. Full Freedom for Entrepreneurs.
Full Freedom for Entrepreneurs. Actually, this just reminds me about my Live Your Dreams Awake event. The last song that we played, like one of the songs that we played was like, everybody's free to feel good, feel good. It was like a real old school rave song. And so a lot of people, I don't know if anyone is watching that was at Lida or watched it online or watched it virtually, but we had like so much fun. And this is part of it. Like, you really help entrepreneurs feel that sense of freedom. And the podcast is Powerhouse Feng Shui so that you can live your dreams awake, you know. So it's kind of like, we put the old title is actually really, the Powerhouse is the mechanism to the living your dreams awake. So now we're like merging them in, and we're keeping the that idea of living your dreams awake. And that's really, you know, why we have such a synergy and helping people, you know, get your dreams awake. It's time.
I just think it's so powerful. Like, we, you know, time on this planet is relatively short, depending on what your beliefs are. And actually, it's so easy just to get in the monotony and the humdrum of life and rhythm and just kind of stick to our routines. And I'm all for a routine. I think that can create a lot of time. But as you said, we got to live that awake, be in the present moment, enjoy as much of it as we can. And nothing's ever perfect. But I just love the idea of waking up joyous and happy every day. And whenever I follow you on social, see you or hear you in my inbox, you always sound so happy and joyful.
Thank you. And I think, to be honest, this is one of the things I will be integrating in, is this idea of like we create our home to be an energetic state of being, and that we have to then keep ourselves into that state of being. And that's a huge part of this journey of like having the right energetic balance and space for it. So it's so great.
Love it.
Thanks, Skye, for coming on. Skye, thank you so much. And we will see you. And for everyone, check out Skye's podcast. And we're going on to our next guest. Thanks so much, Skye. Have a great day. Wow. OMG. How does the time fly? It really does fly when you're having fun. It's been so good. We've just had so many amazing guests, and I'm going to just check in. I'm looking here. We've got, now we have some free time. I actually have some free time before Anna comes on. And I wanted to, hi, Monica. Hi. So welcome, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying this. This is so fun for me to bring on people who have been on this journey a bit. We've got the amazing Anna Parker's Naples coming on 5, who actually helped me launch the podcast at 5:15. We've got Lisa Johnson, and we've also got Anne-Marie Kingston coming on at 5:30. So in the meantime, just for those of you who checked out, whoever is in the comments, I would love you can put your give permission to StreamYard. It's at the top of the link to literally give you access to so I can see who it is. Like, I can see Monica. You're welcome, Monica. You're very welcome. I love bringing amazing people on into our world and to share them as well. And then if you haven't already, has anyone been listening to the podcast so far? I would love to hear. You're loving these small snippets of everyone. Oh, thank you. Me too. And actually we'll have, it's a great way to get introduced and open up to the conversations. And, I really had kind of been like, oh, I don't know if I'll do interviews, but then I love doing interviews. So it is energetic, and everyone has their own kind of energy. I suppose that was one of the things, like from the podcasts this morning, like Patty has her own podcast. I have a podcast. Lisa has a podcast. Skye has a podcast. Like, we get it. We understand the power of it. Hello, hello, hello. And it is about just showing up to share this mission. And you'll have heard everybody is trying to help and make a difference. So it's super, super important that we support each other. So I'm definitely feeling that love and support from everyone today. Now, who here has been listening to some of the podcasts? Yes. Oh, thank you. Monica said she has. Who's left a review? I'm just like being mean now. I'm like, have you left a review? And if you have left a review, don't forget to send the email in. And if you left a review on Spotify, just let us know, because, or it wasn't on Apple, don't worry about it, because, or if you just could do 5 stars, just email Jeanette, miracles@patricialohan.com, so that you can enter the competition. Like, we are not going to be, I don't see this one. This person, I don't see your name, but you're loving all of it. That's great. Amanda, yes and yes. Oh, great. Amanda's Amanda's playing a blinder in Powerhouse. So she is. Yvonne said, yes, I listened there. Great. And I've left a review. Oh, thank you. And I hope that you've entered the competition, which is really, really the big part. And actually, I'll have to change this over the ticker banners. Here we go. So these are some of the prizes that are up for grabs. And we've got the iPad, which is worth €500 or $500. We've got some Amazon vouchers, Happy Home course, a place on that, a place on our Feng Shui for Your Business, my new course that's coming the end of the month, which I'll be working more intensely on after this podcast releases. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, literally this morning, I was like, no more. I'm taking a break. Toby is literally palmed out on the ground ahead of me here. And I was like, no more. Doesn't look like. And then I went, oh, I have the business course to do. Oh, the new book. Oh, so anyways, although yesterday I said to Ken, last night, I was just like, do we ever take a break? Yesterday we were gardening all day, revamped all the front. In the last couple of months, I've literally planted. And I think this is the thing. Our house has been so balanced. We've done so much on the feng shuiing of it and improving on it that, like, we walked around yesterday, and the only thing like this, like, let me see, is there anything else we have to do in this house before we leave in like 2 weeks' time? The one thing that used to drive me nuts was the showers. In the showers we had these like kind of plastic sealers, and they were kind of a weird color. So the new ones just arrived yesterday, and there's so little that we're like, okay, now we have to do the garden. So the garden has been the next thing. And the garden needed some TLC because it hadn't had any real TLC since we got married, like 6 or 7 years ago. In the summer, I spent this is such a funny story. And actually, I wanted to actually share this because it was so interesting. I spent a lot of time obviously out in the garden, and I bought loads of bulbs and loads of plants to plant. And I just thought, God, the idea of planting these bulbs is really, you plant all these flowers, and it's a complete surrender experiment. And it is really a let go and let God, the weather and all of that. And they have to go into the depths of the dark. And it's very much this synergy of that yin and yang energy, because the bulbs or the plants are planted into the earth, and then they have to grow their roots down, and then they pop up into the light. So we need this balance of this yin and yang energy, which I've been really working with lately. And what's been so fun is that underneath the earth, which is earth element, which is something that we use with feng shui, we need that kind of that earth, that darkness, that nighttime, that yin time, to then bring into the yang. So when we did the gardening, I was just talking to Ken. I was like, wow, like I can look everywhere I look in our garden, in parts of our garden, is huge banks. And it's just looks like there's mulch there. It looks like there's absolutely nothing there. But there are hundreds of plants and bulbs that I have planted all out there. And we won't see or reap the rewards from that for months. Like, some of them won't come up for months and months and months. So it's very, very interested. It's very interesting to me. This is what we do with Feng Shui. Like, we balance our homes, we set our intentions, we balance and set those seeds of intention. We take actions around our home, and we don't see the rewards for a while. Like, it can take a long time. And that is part of the journey of Feng Shui and part of the journey of nature, of being in harmony with nature and being in that trusting place with it. Because if we push too hard, it's just not going to, like, things like I can't push the bulbs to grow any faster or the grass to grow any quicker, but we can just take it in the perfect timing. And that just brings me to, I was laughing today because, I shared earlier on about driving down Camden Street and having my heart burst open and tears before I went in to record the podcast. And what was so, with that moment, that woman, the health food shop that I worked over, she had rooms for rent, and she had seen my monthly newsletter. I used to send a newsletter once a month, and I talk about my singing bowls. I added everybody that I knew to it, like the accountant in my parents' old business used to get my emails. Because I was like, okay, I have to just tell people about singing bowls and about yoga and all that. And I used to teach and do bowls in that place. And she saw my newsletter. So she said, Patricia, can you, I really want to do newsletters, but I can't afford you. I can't afford it, but I want newsletters. And I do have some rooms that you could possibly get for free. So we had this whole thing going on. So I used to have the space for free to do her newsletter. It was all fine. But those newsletters, one day I remember sending one of the newsletters out, and it was it was a bit of like, things are not just happening. And I must have been a bit whingy in it or whatever. And this woman sent me this message back, and she actually was a member of a business community, Moira McMahon, years ago when I was a member of in Galway. And she said, you can't force the grass to grow. And she's like, Patricia, there will be days in your life and times when you look back and you've like wished that you had this time and this space and this freedom that you have now. And I just like kind of look back now and I'm like, oh my God, like to have a day where I would just hop on my bicycle and just cycle around and go to my friend Kitty's, and we were laughing only on a message a few weeks ago, like we'd have these whole afternoons of nothing to do. So we just sit in our house and drink tea. And I was like, oh man, to have a day that I can sit and just drink tea in an afternoon and not have things to do. Oh, he's coming back. That's Toby. I think that's Ken coming back. Okay, something very important I was saying there, obviously, that, we sometimes just take for granted where we are right now. And just like those bulbs, there's just latent potential, so much potential waiting under the surface of the seeds and the actions that have been taken. Hopefully he's going to quieten down. He doesn't like people driving by sometimes. So thank you so much. Oh, you're loving it. Great. Thank you so much. But we sometimes take for granted what we take for granted what's kind of what we've done, and we try and push too hard. And that is not what Feng Shui is about. Feng Shui is about like trusting the process, taking it easy. We cannot go out and tell the grass to grow faster. We can't tell the bulbs to grow faster, but they will. And there's all of this latency waiting for us to grow. Toby barks, ha ha ha, keeping it real. It's a live show. It's a live show with the Topster. He's very good though. He's such a great little fella. So we have to really focus on, all of those things that we are doing, those actions that we're taking. It builds on and it builds and it builds and it builds to what we're creating, and the Live Your Dreams Awake podcast was definitely the perfect forerunner to this one. So Misha, thank you so much for playing a blinder. I appreciate that. I love the Toby barks. It's so fun. And Misha and Amanda, now we can see you. Hello, hello, hello. You found it. Well done. To be able to add it into this, I'm going to have to cough now. So we haven't allowed time for me to make a cough. I'm going to mute myself. I'm having some. So I know some people were at the live event. I'm having some of the green juice that we all had, the Gorilla, which is so amazing to keep my energy up for today. So I was talking about the garden, and how actually the external environment, sometimes we're going to have actually a landscaping kind of gardener person come on about garden feng shui. We'll also have Penny is going to come on and talk. She is our resident energy land healer, and kind of energy worker for the land, shaman. It's a beautiful journey that we will do together and come on to share about how we can even harness and work with the land. Every time you express a true insight, Toby reacts to it. I will re-listen to and pay closer attention to those affirmations that Toby barks. I love it. Yes. So the real beauty is that we're being and tapping into feng shui is about this eternal sense of flow and tapping into that energy. And at the very beginning of this, if you haven't seen this session entirely, at the very beginning, we did a meditation looking at each of our organs and those 5 elements. And we need all of the elements for us to flourish here on earth. We need the wood element and all the trees. We need the water element for the rivers, for the waterfalls, for the sea, for the rain, to feed it. We need the metal element to support, to build, to create with. And we need the fire element to also to destroy, to burn, to heat, but also for creation, because it creates earth. So these cycles and what we're really working with when it comes to feng shui is much, much deeper and profound. And that's where we look to nature. And one of the sessions we actually do a beautiful meditation and connection and looking at nature and connecting with that nature on the podcast. You love that meditation. It's great for healing. Oh, yes, you're welcome. I'm glad. It is an amazing meditation for healing. And there's much longer versions. And actually, just as after I was doing it with God, I could possibly do a really nice long version for everyone from the podcast, just to really heal the body. And I have one. I've already recorded one, a beautiful one by the sea in Thailand, which is so, so nice. Now, what else did I want to share about the podcast? First of all, if you haven't already, you can listen to it. It's available on all platforms. The competition is valid for the rest of the week. So if you don't get to listen to them today or do the review today, you can still do it later on in the week. We're going to be running the competition for the whole week, so you get a chance to do it. And if you haven't emailed it in yet, that's all good. Second of all, I am going to be doing a really fun session, which I've got some of our participants of our community are going to come on and interview me and just ask me questions. As you can hear, I can kind of freewheel it here as well as I can. And I did do 3 hours constant with the podcast interview or podcast the last day, which was super fun. And I'm really excited for that idea of having the community be featured in the podcast. So we'll also have some that have different businesses that will be come on and I'll be featuring as well, because it's important for us to really share and get that sense of community. And that's also something that is so I saw actually here in the group, I'm just checking to see if anyone sent me any messages or notes about things. Okay, so that's okay, that's cool. Abby is listening, I think that's all. And we're seeing so much. If there was anything, yes. So does anyone have any questions for me? I would love to answer some questions while I'm here as well. Does anyone have any questions about feng shui? And that's one of the really big things, because with the podcast and the Q&A session, we're going to have like all different kinds of questions. But with the podcast also, I find that lots of people, I answer the same questions over and over and over, like, what is feng shui? How does it work? How do I get started with it? Why would I do feng shui? How's a house bad feng shui? And that's literally what we did as the first episodes. We heard Romy talk about love and how she's setting up her place for love and how she's, just create that space, which is super fun. But also with Romy, what was so nice is that I actually will have a whole session around setting up your bedroom and your relationship area for love. So things that you can do, things that I did to call in love into my life, which was super, super fun, and probably one of the best manifestations ever was that. So I'm super, super grateful for our amazing community that have just lined up and taken action with those. So yeah, that's them. And then let me see. So that was Romy. Let me see. Okay, so let me see. So guests that we're going to be having on the podcast. Nice afterglow. We have loads of people sharing podcast. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so let me see. You love that meditation. Let's do another little meditation where we have at 5 p.m. we have Anna Parker Naples coming on, going to be describing the journey of podcasting and the importance of it. And actually, the reason why the reviews are important today, Apple gives you this 24-hour window to post it doesn't give you a 24-hour window, but within 24 hours, it wants to see a kind of a surge. When we get a surge, it ups in the rankings for the most amount of people to do it. So any downloads, any likes, any shares, anything, any like love hearts here, the more that we put it out into the world, the more that it will literally start to move up the charts, which is super fun. And that is super fun. Left a review, that's great. I love this. I've been getting so many nice reviews. I love this podcast so much, makes me feel so stable listening to it. I love how Patricia can help balance your house without having to knock walls down. I've picked up so much information that has helped my entire house. Oh, thank you so much. I love that. Does anyone have a link to the live that's on now? I'm sorry, Sonia. It is on my Facebook page. Random questions. Where is the best place to put pictures of loved ones that have passed? So, Emer, that is a great question. Thank you. Anyone else has questions, you can pop them in here. We've got 10 minutes before our next guests come on. Where I would say loved ones, I would just not have in your bedroom. Now, in your bedroom, I would say avoid, and I would probably avoid, I know that Emer is part of our Powerhouse community, but I would avoid your career area possibly. But it's okay to have them in your house. Like, it's okay to have past loved one pictures in your house, but possibly not loads and loads of them. But you want one that really anchors and signifies that person, or two would be totally fine. And there's no wrongs and real do's and don'ts. But I would say possibly not your career area and not your bedroom. You definitely don't want them in your bedroom. So that would be the main thing with that. And pictures and artwork is one of my favorite topics. And the other day, I actually got a new painting for actually, I didn't even know where it was going to go. But Ken and I were down in Lahinch bodyboarding. Well, I went for a swim. Ken was bodyboarding, and Toby was barking on watching. He did run into the sea and came very quickly out again. He tried to run after Ken because he didn't want Ken to go. Then he came back. He bolted into the ice cold water and then bolted back out again. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm too cold." So, anyways, we were walking up through the town, and some reason all day I was getting this kind of like in my head, I could hear art, and I was like, God, what is that about? So as I was we parked up in Lahinch, and people might know Lahinch. It's a like surf coastal town in the west of Ireland. It's beautiful. And we were walking up through a little town. I was like, no, we need to walk up the town. And Ken's like, okay, walk up the town. And we literally, both of us walked past this shop, and I went, and Ken, we both just went, oh, wow. And what was so interesting was we both were like, wow. And I went in with Ken. I went in because Ken stood out with Toby. And then they were like, no. I said, can we bring our dog in? They were like, yes, of course you can bring your dog in. So we brought Toby in with us. And they were like, it's not the dog's the problem that come in here. I was like, oh, okay. So we went into the gallery, and she had two other pictures of this artist. But the one that we ended up seeing, the one that stood out. And it's just like joy. It is just the essence. So I was trying to decide. I was like, well, this one or this one, that was nicer. There's two. Then we did down to two, and we basically picked the one that we loved the most, which was the first one we saw. But how did the final decision? She turned around. I was like, what's the name of this painting? And she said, the joy, in the midst of the joy of summer. And I was like, joy, I'm all over it. Now, some of our friends and people have been in the house since we got it, and literally have walked in and being like, whoa, what is that? Like, you can feel the energy. And when I found the artist online and looked it up, she just said, I love what I'm doing. And I just want everyone to have joy in their lives and their homes, and to hope this brings the nature of my effort. And I was like, this is great feng shui. Like, I know it just brings me so much joy. And eventually, literally, we walked in and I was like, it has to go here. So when I walk into my kitchen and I see it, it's over on the wall there. It's so happy, so sparkly, so alive. so vibrant. And that is really the essence of Feng Shui, is bringing nature, things that bring us joy, into our homes, and then being really mindful about that environment, being really mindful of our physical environment. Let me see. I've been going to listen to the podcast today. I've been listening to you since I started the OTM program with Lisa. Oh, amazing. Well, we're going to have Lisa on soon. And Lisa is an amazing, and this is one of the fun things, is that I have amazing people in my world. And Skye talked about Denise Duffield-Thomas, and I hope to have Denise on, because she really helps people feng shui their money. And, there's just so many people doing amazing things, and they're so synergistic with the work that I do in getting your home sorted. So for example, like Joy, Skye, Lisa, they're all business coaches. Patty does very spiritual work, helping with that more like a spiritual alignment. We'll have Anna in a minute talking about helping people with podcasts, getting their message out. But when we think about that idea of your home and business, and there's a full episode actually about feng shui and business, because I truly believe, especially for entrepreneurs, and I am an entrepreneur, that having my home feng shui has literally been the dial changer in helping me get more exposure in the media, helping me support me in just getting the right team, to get the right support, to have the right dynamics, and also the right timing, and all of that things that have happened. It really makes a huge difference. And I do a full podcast about it. And one of the things, the episode about, is your house good or bad feng shui? Definitely check that one out, because that, like, when you decide to start a business, like when you decide to start a business, one of the things is you definitely don't want to be impeded by anything. And in our very early days of feng shuiing businesses and properties, one of my friends referred me to a couple who had a business, and we were doing a business premises. So our program, we do feng shui people's homes, but we also do people's businesses if they want it. But a lot of people in our world actually work from home, so they either work from home, they're in their job now, or they work from home for their business. So we went to this couple's office, and we did the numbers on it, and you'll learn more about that and good and bad feng shui in it. But we ran the numbers on it. And as we ran the numbers and did the feng shui for their house, we realized that the building had gone into a really tricky energy that year. And typically that year it falls around the Chinese New Year. So I hadn't at this stage had like many clients, and I hadn't seen many results from feng shui apart from our own and just my own personal passion. So I didn't really know. I was like, yeah, this is great. You want me to come feng shui it? I'm going to tell you what to do, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like vehemently like, feng shui is the most important thing that you need to do with your business. And you're like, it does not join dots between like having my house feng shuied and your business. But we did this with this lady's house, this business. So we were looking at the business, and their house went into a thing called a money lock. And it was a 1-year cycle where basically money would be very difficult. And I said to her, well, have you had financial difficulties this year? And she was like, the 4th of February, blah, 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 blah. I'll tell you the date it all started. And I was like, whoa, because the Chinese New Year is the 4th of February. And basically her building had gone into this energetic lock on the 4th of February. And me and Ken had like shivers. We both did that consult together, and we both shivers down our body. We were like, oh my God. Basically, like no matter how hard you work, in a year that your house goes into, or your building or house goes into a cycle like that, money just is gone. So she lost her biggest client on the 3rd of February. And talk about like total confirmation for me on every level of the potency of this feng shui. And if you go to my website, I have a guide that's patricialohan.com. It's there's a guide with oh my God, I can't talk. I'm glad this gets soon. But there's a guide that has basically loads of tips for setting up your office. And I have a podcast episode also about feng shui in your office. But that was like, oh my God, imagine you decide to put all this energy into a successful business, and then 1 year it was just like, what the hell just happened? Lost their biggest client on the day of the Chinese New Year. And that was our big confirmation of like, wow, this stuff is so much more powerful than we could possibly imagine. And then after years now, I'm just like this, we just see it time and time again with our clients and their businesses. Like, it really makes a huge difference. So thank you for the little hearts and emojis. You're free to give me smiles, hearts, emojis, as many as you can or want, like, feel like. Not for an ego thing for me. It does actually boost the algorithm for more people to see it. So like tapping on the heart thing does make a difference, believe it or not. Really, the more people that we hear that this is shared with, the bigger difference it makes. So the integration, and actually in the business podcast, I talk about how, in Powerhouse, our clients, so Emer will be doing, and she'll be looking at, for example, her career area, but your career area also represents like your business mission. And it's all synergy, like it all lines up together. So we have Anna. We are coming into the second hour, and Anna has been literally the guiding force behind the podcast, in basically the reason why this podcast exists, because I was going to give it all up. So come on over, Anna.
I'm just setting up my hair.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Everybody.
It's all my fault. We met. You realised that you could do a lot more, and I've made you do it, basically.
She didn't put a gun up to my head. I've done it of my own free will. Although this morning I was like, oh.
Yeah, so we can't see any updates yet. We can't see any of those till this evening. But just looking at the amount of activity, I think it's going to go very well.
Hopefully.
Wow. So yeah, how are you doing? How are you doing 2 hours into starting?
I just want to lie down and be like,
and doing all the promotion.
I'm doing good. I totally underestimated, like basically at 1 o'clock I was like, oh, I'm going to live stream at 3 o'clock until 6, and I was like, oh man. But I do feel really good. I feel very grateful for the suggestion of the WhatsApp group that we created, and just to see all the amazing success, like just testimony, people sharing the reviews and sharing that feels so, it's not like just from an ego place, but it's more like, thank you so much. And they're just like, of course I'll share, and of course I'll review, and of course, and that just feels so amazing to have this amazing community. And that's really lovely.
I think what's really powerful with a podcast launch, when you do it in an informed way, in a strategic way, is that it gives people a real opportunity to give that gratitude back to you, and receiving that validation is really powerful. And I think in many ways, pretty much everyone we support to launch finds it much more emotional even than when they write their book, because people might go and support your book launch, but it actually could take them months to read it. Whereas with a podcast, they feel like they've been in conversation with you. They feel really differently about it. And oh my goodness, you've just got such a lovely voice. So why wouldn't people love hearing you on a fabulous microphone? So I'd love to kind of just, well, first of all, if you want a little break for a couple of minutes, I'm more than happy. So just let me know.
Oh my God, I would love to go and pee.
You go pee. I'll talk to you a little bit about your podcast,
okay?
Okay. So I'm going to take the reins for Patricia right now. I'm actually just going to say I had braces refitted today, so I'm finding it really hard to talk. So if I sound a bit funny, then let me know. But basically, I met Patricia in person. I only met her a few months ago, but I met her in a mastermind probably coming up for maybe 8-9 months ago, something like that. And she had this podcast and she loved it, and it was getting great feedback and things, but it didn't feel like it really supported her business. It didn't really feel like her energy as well, like the branding. And so when she asked me to have a little look at it, I said, look, there's so many obvious things that you're not doing. And when we really delved into what is the work that Patricia's really doing what is it really about? And she said, well, I want to bring Feng Shui to the masses. I want people to understand the power of this. And I said, okay, so let's look at your podcast. Look at the title of it. How would anyone know, if they didn't already know you, that that's what you stand for? So we got really intentional about the kind of content that Patricia is creating, and also guiding her on how this becomes a really core part of her business, rather than a lovely thing to have on the side that she doesn't really think about very much. Because when you get that right, I believe that your podcast can become so much more powerful. And the way, whilst my business is about helping people with podcasts and the consultancy and the editing, all the technical stuff, actually, I come from that place of really believing many of us have important messages that we want to share or that we need to hear that can literally transform our lives. So what I consider we're doing with a podcast is we're helping one person at a time to hear life-changing material. And I think that when you have that energy and that intention with every single one of your episodes, it really changes things. So I was just explaining that I gave you, when we first looked at your show together, I was like, this isn't representing the amazing potential stuff that you have. The episode's mine, but nobody from the outside would know. So tell me then a little bit how it's felt to do things this time around compared with when you were doing your podcast under its previous name.
It felt a lot more intentional. Like, I think it felt a lot more intentional, and it felt a lot more focused on our community as opposed to, oh, this is really nice, I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm just going to interview my friends and have some fun. And that was definitely, like, I know the podcast was of service in the past. Like, I know it like people loved listening and finding new people and having great referrals from me, of people that I'd worked with, and that was really a lot of it. But I also feel like it didn't quite, there's a lot of, Toby's just gone crazy.
The joys of alive. I think we've lost your sound. Has he knocked your microphone out? We can't hear you now. You might have to reconnect your audio.
Back again? How's that?
Hey, you're back.
Oh yeah. So he was on my lap, quiet and calm, and then he just jumped up to run up to see something. So yeah, that was definitely a big shift for me into this more intentional focused on sharing more of the message and more about feng shui. And as I say, actually, loads of people would have these like questions for me, like, what is feng shui? How does it work? Where do I get started? I'm not able to join your program yet. Like, where can I go? And I do have the YouTube, but I'm actually not a YouTube watcher, even though I make YouTube things. But I do actually, do listen to podcasts. So I just thought, God, that's something as well that I think was missing, that you totally identified.
And so this I've given you a bit of a grilling really about the importance of getting your message out there. How has that felt to make yourself so much more visible this week? Well, it's only day one.
It's day one. I think that, to be honest, it was just also about putting this on the map, like just there before you came on, I was saying about a podcast about a client that we first had when we first started with the feng shui, and I didn't really know the results of feng shui. I didn't really know the impact of it. Like, I was just doing it because I liked it, and this person wanted me to do it. I was like, this is what you need to do. And now I just know how powerful it is and how potent it is for people's lives and the transformations that we see in people's lives as a result of doing feng shui, that it's now not a choice. I don't have a choice anymore. It's like, you've got to do this because there's people that need you. And putting out this podcast under like Powerhouse Feng Shui, having feng shui in the name, me doing solo episodes, it's definitely been an edge for me, because it's safe just to interview people and be like, oh yeah, that feng shui thing, it's nice. It's actually, and I remember the first session that we had, and you were like, well, why do you want to do this? But why is it important? And I'm like, because every house needs to be feng shuied, and because it's so important, and because people don't know this information, and they just don't know. They don't realize that literally your house could be sabotaging your bank account, your relationship, your health, everything. So this is like it's a compulsory education.
Yeah, and the other thing is we've made it a little bit more vibrant, because what I've noticed from you over the last few months is you've embraced just so much color in your life. And your artwork before was very nice, but not very memorable, whereas now it's like right there in everybody's face, and that represents you so much more, and the kind of people that you want to attract. So Tell me then about some of the decisions around exactly what you were going to share on this relaunch, because obviously we're only day one and there's quite a bit more content to come throughout the week, which we're hoping everyone will go and listen to. Tell us about the kind of things you wanted to get into right from the word go with this new relaunch.
I really wanted to demystify it. Like, I really wanted to make sure that I just feel like there's so much crap out there about feng shui and misconceptions. And I really wanted to clear that up. And I also wanted to share the impacts that can have on people's lives. Like, that you're sitting in your house, like most of us, nearly 24 hours a day, unless you go for a walk. I'm so lucky to go to the gym for 2 hours, Skye, and then go out for a walk. Like, but we're in it for so long, and it's either supporting you or not. And just to stop people from taking it for granted and being like, wow, I can actually do something in my house and it can make me feel better. It can help me, my health. It can help my finances. As opposed to, why am I so stuck and why are things not happening for me?
So who is this for you? Who have you created?
So this is for women. Like, that's my whole thing has been supporting women. We have occasional men, but it's for women who want to move to the next level in their life. So whether they're feeling stuck on certain aspect of their life, or just kind of like, something needs to change. And that comes from, a kind of like, I know something needs to change, but I don't really know what. And if you don't really know what, then it's really easy to be like, well, if I just change my home. And that's a big part, is like, if you balance your home, it will then help you come into balance and figure out, like, just get that flow and movement back into your life. And we've just seen it like time and time again with our clients, So that's really who it's for.
So we've got an updated artwork, we've got updated energy and mood and intro and outro and those kinds of things. What kind of feedback are you getting from people so far?
We've been getting so much lovely feedback. Like,
what have been the pieces of feedback that have really touched you?
So this one, it's funny. I listened to Patricia before, and today just made simple sense, easy to listen to and understand. Looking forward to the journey and the transformation ahead. It's just that you are consistently consistent and genuinely genuine in wanting the best for all of us. I think that's one of the things, is just that, like, just wanting to help. And that is a huge part of, actually now I'm kind of emotional, because, I just want to help. And I know that feng shui helps people. And that's really the thing. And hearing how it's helping really is amazing. And, we get to hear, and actually, like, we do have in our Powerhouse members community, every Friday, we've a community thread where people share their wins. So we're constantly reminding ourselves and each other of how feng shui can support and wins. But then there's just outside of that community, that we don't hear from, who are part of our community. They just haven't come into our Powerhouse world yet to hear wins from them and reasons for, being part of our is really nice as well. But like, we're helping not just that group, this kind of group, but there's even more. It's more widespread, and it's going to be even more now with the podcast.
I think that when you're running a business, when you're an entrepreneur, but actually you've got something that's really important to you, which is that foundation, this message that actually you can transform your life, and feng shui is one way to do that. But for you, that live your dreams awake, actually live it right now, make yourself be happy right now, make life better right now. It's so important. And I think when people see someone who's very successful and kind of at the top of their game, it's hard for people, like listeners and watchers and followers, to really understand that, how much it means to get feedback in that way. Not, I loved your course, not, this ticked all the boxes of what I paid for, but actually, this has touched my life. This has made a difference to me. And like you're saying, what I love about podcasting is that it can be a really powerful way to encourage people to come and work with you. But you're also able to touch thousands of people who never could afford to purchase you. And I think as an entrepreneur, but also someone who is kind of soul-minded, a soulpreneur, like, that's something that's really important to me. So there's always, now you've got this foundational content, always somewhere to send someone who's not in that place yet. And that for me feels really good.
It does feel really good. And I feel like, I'm just thinking about like the first time I heard about feng shui was when I was like 15, and it was in this kind of book that was a bit like really hard to understand. It got complicated. And then I was like, oh, so, back then it started for me. And this is something I hear time and time again from my community, is that like, I've always kind of had an interest in feng shui, but I never found the person that it resonated with me. And that's kind of also part of it, is just like that, I may be the person that you resonate with. And then you hear my voice and you're like, okay, now actually I get her, why she's doing it, the winds, why am I being called to this feng shui? Because, someone asked me recently, like, oh, how did you find feng shui? And I'm like, it found me. Like, I was not searching for a new career. Like, I wasn't searching for a new thing to do. It found me. And then it was like, oh, now people stop me on the street and ask me to feng shui their house. I'm like, oh, okay. So it wasn't like I was like out searching for something. I was very happy doing my yoga and my sound healing. And all of a sudden I trained in for our own house. So it's not like something that I was like going to do this. It was definitely a bigger picture was around the idea of like feng shui found me, and now I'm doing it because I have to share it. People need to know this stuff.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's going and supporting you today will see that shift and feel that shift in your intention to really take this to be much more present in other people's lives. I think you can't really miss that with what we've done with the podcast. What does it mean to you then that you've got people who are going to be listening possibly for the first time to you, and that they may well take action? What does that mean for you in your work?
It just feels really fulfilling. I just had like, just feels like this is like an awakening. Like it's like this, it helps people like wake up and realize and be like, oh my God, like there's more. Like I don't have to stay stuck here. There's things I can do easily to change and to make a change and to take action, and starting to feel that little ripple effect. And I think that's one of the things, in my journey, and I share a bit of it in the podcast, was like, there was a time in my life when I was really stuck. I went home and cried on the couch every single Friday. The people I worked at work used to laugh, oh, cry day Friday, you're going home on Friday to cry. And because everybody knew that I was in a really dark, bad, heavy, tricky, difficult place. And it's hard to believe. People see me now, they're like, you're so happy. And I'm like, oh my God, but things had to change. And actually I changed my environment. I quit everything and moved to India. Now I teach people to change their lives by just changing your house, like changing the energy. You don't actually have to go to India. So I feel like, I have personally experienced the freedom of change. And that's where it's like, of getting myself out of that dark place through changing my environment, taking action. And that's what I want for other people. Like, you can be free, you can be happier, you can have all the good things. And this is like the perfect segue into Lisa Johnson going on. It's like the queen of it. So
we launched Lisa's show as well. And her show does very well all around the world, which is very cool. Yes. And like I say, for me, a podcast isn't all about just sitting in front of the microphone and then it being edited. It's not all about that. It's about what is it that, what's the knowledge you have as an individual that could actually touch somebody's life. And sometimes actually we may have heard a message before. So it might be that someone who listens to you has watched some other Feng Shui YouTube. I mean, why would they go to anyone else? But they might have heard that stuff before, but it hasn't landed with them because they haven't resonated with that person in the same way, or it's reached them at a different time in their life. And I love that thought that when a piece of audio really hits you, and I'm a huge, huge fan of audiobooks and podcasts, that as you're out there taking a dog walk or having a shower, sometimes something is said that is so pertinent to the challenge or situation that you're in, that it is literally like that message was put there just for you. I don't know if ever you've had moments like that. I mean,
so many times. Really
early days for me. I was disabled for a long time. And I used to have this iPod Touch, and I listened to a Tony Robbins podcast when podcasts were not like they are today. And so it must have been about 10 years ago. And I got myself in this habit of I was out of the wheelchair and I was using crutches, but I used to do like this loop around my road, and I wouldn't go any further than that. And I would listen to an audiobook, and one particular day, well, not to a podcast, and one particular day I heard Tony Robbins being interviewed, and he said, well, whatever it is you think you can't do, stop, pause this and go and do it. Whatever it is,
Oh my gosh.
Big. And I did. I decided I would run to the next lamppost. So, like, I say run. Bear in mind, but in my head, I've been so blocked about it. I was really fearful. And then this audio made me go and do it. And I always think about that when we're putting people's shows together. Like, someone somewhere really needs to hear that thing to make them go and live their life in a really different way.
I know. So fun. You're in a Lisa Patricia sandwich, Anna. So Anna supported Lisa with her podcast. We have Lisa here. Loads of my community know Lisa already because she has an amazing program that was launched, and someone was like, I've only been, actually someone earlier posted saying I've missed listening to you since I started the OTM program with Lisa. She's too busy.
I'm keeping her too busy. She's got
too busy building her businesses.
Okay. We need listens today.
Yes, listens today. Anna, that's the thing. The listens today are really important. Is that true?
And ideally, even if you can't fully tune in, play them through all the way and then come back to them later. It can just really help Patricia. And when you understand that actually the more of you that listen all the way through now, then the more individuals are going to be reached who don't know Patricia, don't know the power of her work, don't know her magic, which if you spend any time with Patricia, if you've been to her events or, masterclasses or anything like that, there's a little special something about Patricia. And we want more people to feel that, to be, I was going to say bewitched by that. I don't know where that came from.
You see the dark witch in me. You can see it.
Yeah.
Surprised at my pink.
So we will be sharing updates this evening, probably from about 9 o'clock, as to how you've got on today. And that's going to be exciting to keep your community updated with over the next couple of days. So
thank you, Anna, for amazing support.
You're more than welcome, and good luck. And everyone go listen.
Oh, yes. That's it. Anna's told you now. Thanks, Anna.
All right, take care.
She gave me a loo break. That's why we're running late, Lisa, because Anna came on and gave me a loo break. I was like,
you deserve a loo break.
I was like, can I go to the toilet?
Yeah. I've done these live streams before. You need the loo break in between.
I was like, how do you keep going? Because Ken had gone out, and then the minute Ken went, Toby went berserk, and I was like, I can't do anything. He just has to go nuts. We're live.
It's all good.
Oh, thanks for joining us today, Lisa. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's been a bit crazy since the launch. We did the launch. I went to Florida. I had 2 weeks in Florida of just like hanging out with the kids, and now I've come back and there's some big plans. So yeah, we're back on it. But we did come back to be told that our podcast had done over 100,000 downloads in 5 months. So really pleased with that. So yeah, this whole podcast thing makes such a difference because people like to hear things in different ways. And so many of my audience said for a long time, do a podcast. I was so against it. I was like, no, I don't want to. I do enough lives. Come and watch those. But they were like, yeah, but we're on journeys all the time. Like, we're on the train, we're in the car. Like, we'd listen to you. Then that's when we really need it. And they have, and it's worked really well. So I'm really pleased that you've done a podcast. I think that people are going to love listening to you in different ways.
Oh, thank you. And that's really reaffirming, because I know when you're like, do the podcast, and when Anna came on and said, like, basically Anna was like, Patricia, because I had one that was like interviewing people that was super fun. And then she was just like, no, you need one with feng shui in it, and it needs to be you and your own. And I was like, oh no.
I do a bit of both. So my first like 12, maybe even 15 episodes were just me. And then I do interview the odd person now, every now and again, like who has a story, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it.
Do you have any advice for me with the podcast? I'm like, now you have the most amount of downloads of anyone I think I've met. That surprised me. Lisa just breaks all records that are ever. It's a break record. No, I'm going to break it.
thing is enjoy it. Like the reason that when I didn't want to start a podcast, the reason I didn't want to do it is because I'd heard loads and they were all kind of the same. And they were always an hour long, each person, and the same questions were asked about that person's business. And when I started, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it and really enjoy it. And so we did ours 20 minutes, like 15 to 20 minutes is the longest, like the podcasts really go. And then I also wanted to do them where I ask, if I'm going to have a guest on, I want to actually know some real stuff. Like I really want to know stuff about people. I'm really curious. And they're not probably the things that other people are going to ask because they're not really relevant to business, but I want to know this stuff. I'm just nosy. And so that's what I did. So now I just interview people and I just ask people all the stuff that no one else will ask them.
And now I'm nervous and I'm like, is she going to ask me something?
And I might. You should be nervous. But no, and don't try and just think like with, you know this because you do this with everything. You don't try and make anything perfect. No. And that's what I try and do with the podcast. Just if you start trying to make things perfect and for other people rather than what you enjoy, then you stop enjoying it, don't you? So just, keep it fun.
That's so true. And actually, it's interesting you said that about the length of the episodes, because I had scheduled 3 hours in the studio and said to the guy, I'm going to be 3 hours. I'm going to have 10 episodes. He rolled his eyes. He was like, yeah, right. And they all ended out between 17, 19, 15, 16, 17 minutes, every single one of them. And it was just like this natural stop. I was like, I'm done now talking on this topic, and no planned. Like, did you map out all of your yours or not really?
I didn't map out any. I just talk about what I want to talk about. Like sometimes I use my podcast as therapy. So there's nowhere else that my team will now allow me to rant about things too. So, I'm not allowed to do that like on Facebook where I used to write those like posts that are shielded in mystery about things that I'm annoyed at. I'm not allowed to do that anymore, but I can do it on my podcast because no one can stop me. So I generally use it as like a rant. It's great. It's like therapy. I'm talking to no one, and then I realise that 100,000 people are listening, and then I worry. But
it just get like hate mail.
Yeah.
Like, what is she happening? Right. You don't even read it. I think, and that's so interesting is that like, I honestly did feel at some stage I turned around at near the end and I was like, did that sound a bit ranty about why feng shui is so important? And your man was just like, he's just like, I'm trying to figure out my prosperity area. The studio, the guy, the recording guy's like, oh no, he goes, no. But where do I need to, what do I need to do in here? So he was like trying to, so I was like, oh yes, I am watching him.
Yeah. But also remember that ranting is just something you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about something, then it always works because people can hear that in you. And I always think that's a really good thing. I love listening to people, whether it's on Facebook Lives or podcasts, that are really passionate about their subject because you know that they're enjoying it. And, if they're enjoying it, I'm enjoying it.
I know, that's so true. And actually it's fun because we've got Anne-Marie coming on in a minute, and she is just like me, but she does decluttering, or like she's like mad about decluttering. And you can see even just the posts, and I'm about like, I post around my clothes, my passion for my clothes as my separate little hobby Instagram account. That's just like, because I love color in my clothes. But like when you just post about the things that you're passionate about, with my feng shui and my clients and the wins, they're just like so fun. But I see Anne-Marie post pictures of like people's declutter, like what she's taken out of someone's house, and you can feel like, I'm so happy this is all gone.
Yeah, like the before and after though as well. Like I love that. I love seeing things like that. It's why like people like Mrs. Hinch do well. Like everyone loves seeing something being put into like order, don't they? I feel like I do that with businesses.
Yeah, and actually
you go no.
Yeah, and keeping it simple. I think this is one of the things like that. But you know what? Because I remember listening through your launch, and I was like, oh my God, you just make it so simple. And that's what people often say to me about feng shui, is that you just make it easy. Like, just do this. No, you don't need to move house. No, you don't need to, like, just forget about everything you've ever heard. I don't know, do you say that to your people? Like, just forget about everything you've ever heard about feng shui and just do what I tell you.
Yeah, I constantly say, forget everything you've ever heard about business, because business isn't complicated. People make business complicated. And I bet it's the same with feng shui. It's like people make it complicated. It doesn't have to be. People love a step by step. They love everything to be simple. I mean, I do. I love everything to be simple. So why not? Yeah, like don't complicate everything. And that's why I love launching, because launching can be so step by step. It's just, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to keep it simple so that people can follow along and understand what you're doing. And yeah, I get so much out of it.
Oh, I love that. And it is this, that I think that's all the different people have come on in different ways today and talked about that simplifying, like yourself, Joy. But we also had Skye, and I was like, you help people organize, like systematize their business in a different way, you know. And it's like, there are processes for everything, but we don't. There, I think absolutely everything.
Yeah, Skye helped me. So when I first started a team, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like, no one ever told me how to manage people before, how to get a team on board. And then suddenly, like when we got to like the £1 million mark, I was still doing everything on my own. And someone went, you probably ought to get a team by now. And it took me a year to get a team of 8-9 people. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, Skye, you know how to like make this simple. Like, and that's what we do, don't we? We go and try and find the people that make things simple. I'm really excited about listening to your podcast, because I was talking to one of my sons, Albert. He's very special. He's very different. He's kind of verging on the trans kind of arena. So he's a boy, but he likes to wear girls' clothes, and he loves color, and he's very about fashion. And he's got a new bedroom, and he was talking about his bedroom, and he was like, I've heard about this thing where you're supposed to put them like in a certain order. And I was like, oh, I know somebody that does that. I know like the leading expert on this subject. And so he was looking you up and going, well, what did she say about bedrooms? And I was like, well, I know something about facing the door, and that's all I can remember. So I'm going to have to listen to a podcast. So you will have a 10.
Oh my God. I got into feng shui when I was 15. So, you know, the younger, the better. You never know. Now you're going to have a whole feng shui life. You have your business feng shui your whole life. And actually, you know what you just said is so important, just around, you know, calling in Skye or getting the professional, because that is like the biggest thing. I think like in business or in feng shui, people are like, oh, I'll just kind of do it myself and figure it out. And then like, you're like, oh, I didn't get any results. And you're like, because there's people who know exactly how to do it and tell you exactly what to do. And that's the difference. It's like, I tried this feng shui thing, but it didn't work. And I'm like, well, did you do what I told you? Did you join and get your personal report for your house, which is exactly the same as what you do, you know? Because
it's different for different people. And what you just said about being personalized, everything has to be personalized. It doesn't work to go, we can all Google, you know, what you need to do for your bedroom or how to make 7 figures. People can go off and Google all those things, but it's our eyes on them and their stuff that makes it work. And that's definitely true with what you do. Like I've seen you talk to people about things, and it's about a personal approach to helping people with this. And that's why, you know, podcasting is really interesting to see all the different, I'm mostly looking forward to you telling us about people that you've helped, like, and what small changes you made that made the difference. Like, I can't wait for that. Love a bit of that.
Oh, well, you just have to stay on and listen to Anne-Marie, because basically who's on next, Anne-Marie is probably like, it's just, for me, it's just the funnest thing, seeing people like grow and flourish, just like you see it. It's the exact same thing. And it's just been in her life, in her relationship, in her business, just like, whoa, it's like, I'm going to start this light decluttering business. And now it's like, oh my God, I am the queen of decluttering in Ireland, you know? So and that for me just like is so encouraging and so much fun, because you're like, and we're all on, I think it's like we see it also in online business, is that we're all on this big wave together. You know, in some of the communities and the community that we're in, we're actually going to be in Necker Island in September, which is super fun. But in those communities, we're rising up, and like you see it, and we just have to be kind of at the forefront. And then you're seeing other people doing it. You're like, we're all part of this together, you know, and being role models for each other. You know, I'm just like Lisa's launch. I'm like, okay, next. I'm just going to be like Lisa's, you know, but we all just learn and support each other with this growing. And that's what's been so nice, even having so many different people from our community come on and share today, because it's like, we can't do this alone. We need people ahead of us, people behind us, people to encourage and grow and flourish together.
Yeah, you're so right. And it is about that. And I think when you first either come into business or whatever you start doing, you do feel like you're doing things on your own. And then you realize actually everyone's on the same kind of journey, and they might be a little bit in front of you or behind, but there are people that have already been there that you can learn from, but there are people behind you that you can help. And there are people on the journey with you right now that can support you. And I think it's really important. Like, the best thing about this whole online world and in the podcasting world, and the fact that we can do things like this together, is that we get to meet a load of people who want to have their perfect life and have this amazing dream of a life that maybe they never thought they could have before, but people like you are helping them do that. And I think that's amazing. Like, we never had that before. If you go like back 10, 15 years, where would you find that?
No. And that is so true, because like, obviously I follow Lisa and she's always traveling, and literally from May until I don't know when I'm going to be on the road. I have no idea when I'm even coming back to Ireland. I'm like, farewell Ireland, we'll see you when we see you. It's kind of part of it, but it's that idea of like, we're creating our own lives the way that we want, like, and it's that like, if we don't see other people doing it, and it's not about having everyone to travel. Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, you are mad for your like amazing holidays, but also like we love going to places for extended lengths of time. And it's like, everyone gets to figure out what they want. And I like role modeling and being like, you can do it your way, whatever way that is. And that's a really important part of this, is that the podcast for me was, we named it originally Live Your Dreams Awake. And now it's like the Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast to enable you to live your dreams awake.
And that's
it.
It's about that empowerment. Actually, you can have whatever life you want. You can have whatever life you want. You just need to put the things in place to be able to go and get it. And let's empower everyone to do that.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on. We've Anne-Marie now coming on to share her journey and her passion. And yeah, it's so great. So I'm so delighted to have you here. Thank you, Lisa. Our community love you. So thanks for sharing all your magic with us. And we will see you soon, in a couple of weeks, actually.
Yes, see you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. Have a great day. And our final guest is coming on now. Thanks, Lisa. Bye. Anne-Marie, thank you for your patience, Anne-Marie. We went behind.
Hello.
I had to go to the toilet. So basically,
how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for coming on. You were like last minute. I was like, perfect timing. I actually thought you'd be listening in and you'd be enjoying that one with Lisa, because I was like, yes, we're all for living our dreams awake and doing what we want and sharing our passion.
Absolutely, Patricia, 100%. Yeah.
So, Anne-Marie, I've touched on what you do. Do you want to share who you are and what you do here while I drink some green juice, basically?
Perfecto. So, hi everybody, I'm Anne-Marie Kingston and I'm a professional declutterer here in Clonakilty in West Cork, and I'm Cork's Queen of Decluttering, soon to be Ireland's Queen of Decluttering, and transforming homes all over Ireland, which I absolutely love doing. As I heard you speak earlier on, my passion is clutter and decluttering and putting in systems and supporting my clients who have been struggling with clutter, Patricia, for mainly years and decades, and they're just feeling overwhelmed and stuck. And that's why I come in with my magical hands and get stuck in and transform the space, take away the clutter, find homes for the clutter on the other side, and just give them a new lease of life and just transform their whole mind and well-being, because it's been surrounded by clutter for so long. It's so important just to start from scratch. And again, it's so linked up again, like with the feng shui side of things, that again, like, you know, if there's areas of your home that are really stuck and clogged up, it's obviously related back then again to your overall life. Feng shui side of things.
And I think that like, it's so fun, because a lot of people, and I think, you know, you would have had a very clutter-free house. Yes, feng shui has worked. You know, it's like, I think this is a very important thing for me. Actually, it's perfect that you're here today to actually make this clear line between, like, you know, the clutter is a huge factor, but actually you were in a different, like, your house probably had very little clutter when you decided to do the feng shui.
And it, you know, it probably had, as I always say, kind of pockets of clutter. There was still, like, as I always say, clutter is continuous process. It never stops, Patricia, because it's stuff coming in all the time. But for me, it was just pockets. But it's when I went back and actually realized, like, I was probably 3 months into starting up my business. Like, I had clients come in and everything like that, and it was probably slow maybe the first few months, and I was kind of saying, okay, that's kind of normal, maybe starting off. It was a very new niche here in Ireland, and then the next minute I was like, okay, need to do something about it. And there was other things going as well, like our money was coming in, but it was going straight out again out of our bank accounts, and I was like, right, Patricia came into my world, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And I've never looked back 5 years on, and basically everything has been transformed from my business, going from like clients here and there to 3-month waiting list to being on national TV, national radio, new website launched at the weekend, being featured in RSVP magazine, Ireland's biggest magazine here in Ireland, national radio across Ireland, everything, Farmers Journal, everything. Like, there's probably things I'm actually leaving out. Again, have your baby. Yeah, I forgot that.
I just forgot about the child that I wanted as well.
Yeah. Third baby came a year ago, baby Cara. Everything, lot of wins. There was 2,500 here, different projects Jen and myself would have got involved in. There was money came in from that side of things. There was everything. Like, there was a ripple effect to helping people showed up when I went to them. Different communities, winning a business award as well with Network Ireland West Cork, now being vice president for Network Ireland West Cork, being president, please God, for 2022. So there is so much like going on. Family, community, everything has changed. Absolutely, 1,000%.
I think this is one of the big things, is that like a lot of people don't realize like the impact of your home on your life, and how you do from the clutter level, and then clearing the clutter, and then balancing it with the feng shui, which I really want to bring into the world and be like, feng shui, every house needs to be feng shui in the world, is so powerful. Like, it really, really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I totally agree with you, because again, I suppose when we started off, Patricia, as I mentioned earlier on, like, everything was going fine, but I just felt there was something. And again, I suppose, look, it's only since I did my decluttering studies, like, that I suppose I kind of got more into the energy side of things that I was really connected with, and that I really kind of tuned into my house and tuned into like my gut feeling. And then I kind of knew, and I was like, this is it. This is going to transform our lives. And it did. And it still is. Every day there's always something. But just to jump on that journey and go for it, because again, like, you can be pulling away and kind of just truggy away, kind of getting nowhere, kind of, oh, will it ever happen to us? But it will get there, because again, like, I suppose I'm at like, from your previous interview, I'm at kind of the next level. Like, I'm kind of doing the internal decluttering side of me now, while I've done like the physical decluttering, cleansing of my house all the time, which is a continuous process. But again, it's to work on my blocks as well, because we could say we want something, but then we could be rejecting and we're blocking that too.
Yeah. And I think that the big thing for me, and this is something that we've always integrated and why we do our live events, and there's been loads of our live events. And I think, I'm just a huge proponent of like, we get get your house ready and sorted first. And then it facilitates us to grow. It facilitates those visions, those intentions to kind of start to come into fruition and to support us to really come into balance. And you are like it's like the poster child of feng shui for us. It's like our poster child. It's just like because over the years, it's just, you're continuously growing and evolving with it. It's like when we start to work with the environment, we start to work with the energy of our homes, it facilitates us to change. It facilitates our transformation. It supports us with that, as long as we're willing to change too, as well as we're willing to step up to what's being put in front of us. I could have easily, with this podcast, for example, been like, no, I'm tired. I don't want to do the podcast anymore. She's over the wrong name. I'm going to let it go. But instead I was like, I'm going to do this. And there was like resistance. There was lots of things coming up. It was like, no. Like yesterday, I wanted to throw the whole thing away. I was like, I'm not doing it. And then it's like, no, there's so much more to it. And I think, a bit like yourself, you definitely see the results and transformation when you work with your clients. We see it. And if that's the way, like how people find us and through the podcast, through everything is really the most important. That's actually the fuel for me. I don't know, Anne-Marie, I think it's similar to you. Like the fuel is the is people's change and realizations that they have, and that shift for them.
Oh, huge. And like that shift is massive. And you have to, you know, you can kind of put in your remedies and say, okay, oh, why aren't things working? Now there will be, like, you'll see small shifts, but you need to see again, like, the more that you put into it and the more that you're open to it, that's where you will see more bigger shifts again. Because again, it's like, oh, I love that, but, and I was like that for a while, and because saying, oh, is this a bit as my husband would say, a bit woo-woo out there? But it's not, and it's again, it's believing in ourselves. It's like me when I started off my business, and people were saying, what? You're leaving a pinchable job to leave the Bank of Ireland, to have your kids, to go off decluttering. And they were like, what? But this is, and it is only when after having baby number 2 out of 3 kids, thankfully, like, that I realized, again, the light bulb moment went off. And I was like, when I was thinking going back to the financial sector, didn't want to go back whatsoever. I was like, yeah, it's grand, it's a job. And then the light bulb moment literally went off above my heart press, and I was like, you're going to become a professional declutterer. And I was like, are you serious? And I remember coming down to this office and saying, Googling professional declutterer. And it wasn't the thing back then, Patricia, that was the thing. I suppose Marie Kondo came on afterwards. Do I've been like compared to her so much here in West Cork in Ireland, and I don't even use her techniques, but it's an honor. But like, it's when then I realized I have a purpose, like, on this world. And my big thing was to not have regrets when I leave this world, to say, why didn't I do this and why didn't I do it? Do it when you can and when you have the health to do it, and that's it. And I took it on, and the still family and friends think I'm a crazy lunatic, but I absolutely love what I do, because again, as you mentioned earlier on, when I see the before and after pictures, when potential clients send me those cluttered room photos, and I'm like, oh my God, let me in there. And they're like, what? Some of them like text me and they're like, Amber, you need a defibrillator before you leave it. Actually, you'll have you a defibrillator next to you. And I'm like, for what? And like, this is my job. I don't judge anyone when it comes to clutter, because they've gone through their own, as I always say, curveballs, Patricia. They've gone through sickness, they've gone through different, maybe unemployment, they've lost their job, redundancy, there could have been tragedy, death, whatever, maybe something is happening at home. And that's where I come in, like you, as like to come in, facilitate, get literally on my knees, hands down and dirty into the clutter, and we get sorted and we clear out that clutter. And within 5-10 minutes, they'll see that transformation. And then the clutter's gone, and they're like, Anne-Marie, oh my God. Then that's it, Anne-Marie. And we usually find money, actually, when we're decluttering. That's one thing we always I find for clients. And then things open up, because they can see the potential their house has, because again, there's been so much going on, and we start peeling back, as I said, that onion, and that onion then starts exposing other qualities that are there, and then there's good things come to follow them as well, and that's the most important.
And you know, I think this is so similar, because we our roles are similar and in different ways, but you know, when people send us the information of what's been going on in their lives, like, you know, I remember when Ken would have to get ready for reports, and he would sit for like 20 minutes getting into a positive state, because he just knew that, like, the stuff that's gone in people's lives is so, we don't have a clue. We just don't have a clue what's going on behind closed doors. And, you know, we're just the helpers, like, we're just here to help, and there's no judgment. And for me, there's like one opportunity in our journey for people to go, this is what's happened. And that is therapy in itself, just to be like, this is what happened. And we're like, let's now focus on where you're going. It's about where you're going, what is it you want. And you know, I did say in one of the podcast episodes I created, I didn't even know I was going to be doing this. Like, people said, I like wrote a few notes on a bit of a page on every, like literally about 5 words on every page of what was going to be on the podcast. And one was like, I want you to get a pen and paper. I want you to think about where you're going, about what it is that you want, about these different parts and how it's impacting every part. Because if you don't know, if you can't have that focus outside the box, you're just going to stay stuck in it. So something needs to move, something needs to change, and you kind of physically change with the movement, and so do we. And it's just the joy of that, because we see time and time again just that results and that joy and that amazingness that happens when people start to actually, you know, use their home as a support mechanism, as opposed to the thing that's going to get them down.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I keep saying, like, Patricia, like, especially over the last 2 years, like, our homes were more than ever was our safe place during the pandemic. So this is a place like we really need to just like it's not just bricks and mortar and a roof and where we sleep. It's our home. It supports us, and we need to again like listen in and tune in, because some people be like, what, tune into your house? But when you do tune into your house, and like as you mentioned, like when you do get your personalized report for home, and then you're like, that makes sense why that's happening there, and that makes sense. And then it's just when you start like bringing those remedies, and just again, like again, after being at your event in Dublin 2 weeks ago, oh my God, there's more stuff going out. There's cars filling up. There's cleansing going on. There's decluttering. There's more, again, because sometimes, you know what, it's like everything. We just need a bit of a kick up the ass and just to kind of go again, because we kind of get stuck in ourselves and we're like, and then we go to one of Patricia's events and you're literally come home like a live wire and you're like, oh my God. And you're literally like you avalanche and you go, okay, this is it. You're going to the next level again, because I suppose, look, we're probably creatures of habit. We kind of try to keep ourselves down, and we're like, we can't do that, but you can have that. And it's really when you like, really, I suppose, like with vision boards and just saying, do you know what, that's what I want. Because again, like it was like my business award for Network Ireland West Cork. Like I had it on my vision board. I was like, I said I was going to win my category, and I won my category. And again, just, you know, just really just tune in to say, what do you actually want? Because I'm very good for saying, oh, that's that, but I was like, that would be nice. That'd be lovely. And then I kind of come back like, oh no, you can't do that. And then my inner ego then is saying, Anne-Marie, no, don't. They're all kind of, all these inner thoughts are going on. And then I was like, so then I have to work on my mindset, work on the side of things, and then say, right, come on, off my shoulder now, you go way off, and then I'll zone back in again. But it's really just trusting the process and just going for it. Just put it out there, because it was like me when I never dreamt of being in business. I never dreamt of having an award-winning professional decluttering service here in Clonakilty in West Cork, going nationwide back in 2018. Never thought of it, because again, they wanted to work with me, having VIP clients, like, and then going online with COVID. So like, there's so much like out there, and it's just there waiting for you to say yes, please, and not to hold back. Because I remember like, over the years, like I'm 5 years in business this year, and there were numerous times people asked me, will I travel? I was like, no, I have small kids, not a hope. I couldn't do that. And then it came up the following year, and I said, Jeannie Mac, I was like, universe, come on.
If you say no, then
and I was like, okay. And I said, look, and I'm always one for everything. I'll always try something, just see how it feels and go from there. And absolutely.
And I think this is the big thing, is just like, you can see why I'm glad Anne-Marie is on, because we talk about a motivator as well. And just like what's being presented to you, like what is being presented to you, it's here for a reason. And, you know, you haven't found me, you haven't found this conversation today, you haven't found the podcast for no reason. Your home is talking to you, whether you like it or not, and it really wants your attention. And that's a really big thing to take away from this, because it wants your attention because it wants to support you to grow and to achieve whatever your vision and intention is. And that's actually the bigger thing. Like sometimes I feel like, this sounds a bit esoteric out there, but like sometimes I feel like I'm just like this little pawn being like, moved, you need to go talk about feng shui now and do this podcast because people need that, you know. And we're like, we all have something to be of service to be supportive, to help out and make a difference in the world. So it's so important for us to get out of our own way. And one of the big things is that our home is actually a mirror of our unconscious. We don't even realize that it is blocking us, and that when we start to actually bring our conscious awareness to it, whether it's decluttering and listening to the podcast, taking action, it really does make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it does. So I know everyone's loving Anne-Marie. I love your energy. It's 1 a.m. but I feel like getting out of bed and taking out and decluttering everything. Anne-Marie is a tonic. I know.
Thank you.
Loving these podcasts. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you, everybody. And you know what? Actually, this is so good. We're going to have Anne-Marie on the podcast for a full episode on decluttering and getting started. And she will be coming actually into our Powerhouse program as well, giving guidance there as well. Because I just know that, you know, I find decluttering easy. Like I actually really like it. But I also am not the best. I don't know if I'm the best teacher of it. I just throw everything out. Ken is like, where's my life? Where's this? I can't find it because you decluttered it. And I was like, No, I didn't. Thank you so much for coming on, Anne-Marie. There's going to be more from Anne-Marie on the podcast coming up. We've got loads of episodes coming up, and we're going to have some really very specific guests coming to share their wisdom, and Anne-Marie's going to be one of those. So thanks, Anne-Marie. I know her childminder is going at 6, so she has to go. And I want to give her some time and space to get I have some space left in my day. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia.
And have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
You too.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Oh my God, talk about a tonic. Isn't she amazing? I'm so grateful for everybody that has joined me today. This has definitely been the quickest, well, I don't know from the 3 hours of new podcast episodes I've released, but this has definitely been so nice. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So today, as you heard, Anna did say, even the listens, if you just have your phone, I'm just going to be giving you this simple one. If you just have your phone and you go on to Apple and you go to the podcast and put it on play without even the volume is going to make a difference. Honestly, you don't even have to listen to it. But especially for people in our community who are I know what Patricia's going to say. If you're that person, just put it on playing so that we can get the more people listening and hear what the results are going to be. We won't be able to share the results until later. Anna said it'll be later on this evening before we'll be able to see what's actually happened. But the more of those full length plays, even if you're not listening to it right now, that will be great. I really appreciate it. I think one of the things you'll have heard throughout this is that this process of Feng Shui isn't really about me anymore. It's about everybody else. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed this afternoon. I'd listened to the podcast, all the podcasts. I'm great. I'm so good. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So what I would love for you to encourage is, first of all, maybe while you're listening, you might think of one person that you think would like this podcast, or that might like the podcast itself. And you're okay, I'm going to share that with one person and go, listen to this. I think you're going to like it. Just think of one person, or maybe just go onto my Facebook page, see some of the posts that are shared today and just share it, or put it on the podcast. The big thing for me is that more people need it. And if any of you have had any single little share, any single little aha moment or realization or win from Feng Shui, just know that you could be the facilitator of that by sharing this. And that's what I really want you to kind of reiterate, is that literally getting the link for the podcast, putting it in a message to someone, it will be so, so powerful. And you don't know whose life you could actually change for the better by releasing the podcast, by sharing the podcast. So I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this show today. As I said, there's going to be a competition. It's going to be running for the rest of the week. I've shared it with all my friends who think I'm insane since watching me put my remedies in, but I know they're very curious. I love it. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you took the jump to come and join us in Powerhouse. You're just so great, taking all the action, putting all the remedies in. It's so great. So the competition is still running for the rest of the week. There's all of those amazing prizes. Fantastic reboot. Great. I love it. And that is really one of the other things about the podcast, is that it will be a reboot, and you're going to hear different things in different ways, and different ways of explaining it, different things that you can do. And I never know what's going to flow through to me. And sometimes I'm surprised myself with the things that I've put out there that are not even in a kind of bad way, but in a oh, well, that's actually really good what just came through there. Especially when it comes into more of the more general topics around creating your vision or your manifesting and all those different things. So all of those topics are going to be covered in the Feng Shui in the podcast, and I'm excited for it. In the meantime, I'm going to go now and get my dinner. Thank you so much for everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I'm delighted. Thanks, Lolita. I love the reboot. If you haven't already, please tune into the podcast. Go to this link here. Podcast, powerhousefengshui.com, podcast-competition, and rate and review the podcast. The more reviews, the more ratings, that's really where the magic is. And I would really just appreciate your support with this, because there's lots of people that are and need just some more awareness with their home. I really enjoyed it. Oh, that was so good. I know, it was just so perfect. The guests that came on, so vibrant, so fun. And a lot of them are in the podcast or will be on the podcast in the future. So fun. Thank you, everybody. It was so fun to do it. And yeah, amazing. So have a great evening. Have a great day. Before we close, we'll just take a minute to just close our eyes, bring our hand to our heart, bring a smile to our heart, a smile to our face, and just allow yourself to just receive all the wisdom, all the knowledge, maybe all the little reboots of kind of like, you can do it, from Anne-Marie, from Romy around romance in the bedroom, from organizing your business, from getting help. So many amazing people that we've had on today. Joy for simplifying, manifesting, living your dreams. Like, this is really about that. And I want you to just think for a minute about some vision or dream that you have, like something that just the idea of it would bring a smile to your face. Now, it could be a convertible, it could be living by the sea, it could be your soulmate, it could be, just, and, whatever it is, whatever that thing that you just know would be like, that would bring a smile to my face, a new job, a new partner, a new dog, whatever it is, just bring that thing into your mind, and from your mind, drop it into your heart, put your hands on your heart and just smile to your heart. Smile to the idea and the feeling of that amazing vision that you're just like holding in your heart and planting like a seed, like that gardening that I did earlier on in the week, that all those plants, that seed is planted in your heart, and just warming your heart, smiling down at it, and just making your home and your body feel like the environment that's supporting it, this really beautiful, powerful environment that supports it. And calling in your home to support you with that. So just from your heart, that's smiling at your heart, smiling at your intention, smiling at your home, and saying thank you to your home thank your home for its support. And just say, I'm listening, and I want you to support me with this vision, with this intention. I'm just going to take the time to watch and anchor in all of that. And so smile to your face, smile to your heart, smile to each and every one of you that have joined. So grateful for everyone who's been here. Thank you, those who have got to see their names: Sinead, Lolita, Amanda, Nisha. We've got so many amazing people. And someone asked me about the person, the loved one. I'll answer that question in a second. Lisa, Jenny, Vanessa, Carol, oh my God, Annika, Amanda, Adelina, Yvonne. I'm so grateful for you all. Monica, Vanessa, oh my God, there's so many that were here live. Karen, Maggie, Christina, Maggie again, and the other Maggie, Adelina, Helen, Christina. Oh, I'm going through Rita, so many of you from so many places. Amazing. There's one question that was posted and I didn't want to miss it. I'm sorry. It got popped up when we were conversing. So Carol asked about, I said no pictures of past loved ones in the bedroom, or people who've passed in the bedroom. So Carol, if that person is your loved one and you don't want to call in another person into your life, it's fine to have it in the bedroom. So leave it in the bedroom if that feels good for you. But if you did want to call in new love, I possibly would recommend moving it to a different room than the bedroom, if that makes sense. So thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. Thank you for being here. I've just signed a contract on my dream job. Thank you, P. I hope I know who this is. Who is it? You did fantastic, and it all went smoothly. The dream new job, whoever this is, I'm going to go and see it hopefully on Facebook in a minute. I did fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I can't wait to see who got the new job, of course. Sending you loads of love, and we will see you all very soon. Check out the podcast. I'll be doing some more of these fun lives over the rest of the week because this is super fun, and I'll speak to you soon. Lots of love. Bye.